And welcome here to day number 2 of the Proving Grounds Open Qualifiers. Of course, we're not on the main stream, but we're still bringing you all that lovely action here, and we will be taking a look at DARE going through. Of course, we're here on the DARE channel. It's going to be a great time as they're sitting 1-1 and looking to qualify for that knockout stage. It's going to be a very, very fun time, or if you will, the main tournament. Coming through here again, got a place in the top 16. My name is Orbital. With me is Random Minion Castle. You know us, you love us, or maybe don't, I don't know. But RMC, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Orbital, and until told otherwise, I'm going to assume people love us because I need to preserve what mental I still have. And, you know, going into day 2 here, it's been interesting. DARE is going to be facing off against Winthrop University in this round 3 in the first game of the night. Because it's a Swiss format, the score is going to be 1-1, 1 win, 1 loss. But the stories coming into day 2, vastly different here for both these teams. Starting with DARE. Their 1 win comes against a higher seed. DARE was seeded 20th in this bracket here, and they beat Taco Gaming, a team that a lot of people consider to be a very steady, solid team at 13th seed. They beat them, and for their pains, they had to face against Golden Guardians Academy, the first seed in their second game. So you know what? It's 1-1, but in my heart, they went down swinging. That's a 2-0. On the other side, Winthrop University, the opposite situation, 1-1, and they lost their first game against a lower seed. Winthrop, seeded as 14th, lost to Glaive, who was 19th seed, then went on to play against Zodiac, 31st seed, had a nice win there. But for Winthrop here, playing against DARE, who's just 1 seed lower than Glaive, is a statement game. If they lose to DARE, I don't know if Winthrop can make top 16.
Yeah, and to even put that in perspective, it is very, very difficult. Now, some people would say, arguably, that losing in some scenarios might make it an easier run because of how a Swiss bracket works. To an understanding format, if you lose a couple of games, you get seeded into the lower side. That's what everyone kind of understands there. However, the mental kind of toll that it takes on you can be very, very rough, and so I'm also very, very curious, right? When we were talking about it, I believe as casters, a lot of us got together and we were kind of curious about how the teams were shaping up, because pretty much we have some of the big names, you know, top 8, of course, we knew exactly who were coming in, you know, Golden Gardens Academy coming in, and some of the others, you know, Maryville University. But below, I want to say around the 16th position, or probably a little bit higher, about I want to say 14th and below, a lot of it was actually kind of muddled. This middle ground where people are battling this hard line to get maybe those last 4 or 6 spots to go into that group stage is incredibly difficult. So I love the fact that you pointed out that Winthrop kind of fighting for redemption here. DARE looking like they are on the chance, because whoever wins this one, of course, goes 2-1, 1 step closer to getting to finalize their positioning. And I mean, if there's any specific laners, I mean, we even have for Winthrop a couple shifts as well in the lineup here.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Winthrop's roster here in the top lane. Mabud, in the jungle, it was supposed to be Frost Forest, who has been a mainstay for Winthrop, but unfortunately tested positive for COVID as of January 9th, and instead they're going to be playing Mordio instead in the jungle, who played yesterday for them as well. Avano in the mid lane. Vex, or the only Vex, as their AD carry, and the support yesterday, they used another substitute, Grim. But tonight, they're going to be running their starter, Sir Kenji, coming back in, a key piece of their CLOL 2021 championship team here. So Winthrop leveling up a little bit. And as I was running through those names, Orbital, I could see a light of recognition. Yes, Mabud, yes. Avano, Grim, those guys were indeed part of DARE last year, part of the DARE Black roster, which has since moved on here. So, you know, a bit of a, shall we call it, a organizational reunion here.
Reunion or Civil War, whatever you want to call it, depends on where the players feel like they are in their hearts, right? That's really what we're looking at. But overall, I just also want to point out, it's fantastic to see so many players from the DARE organization, you know, whether in the past or currently present, being able to make it into the Proving Grounds, because I think that's really all that it's really supposed to be for. You know, these players, you know, obviously half of these teams are going to be cut, unfortunately, from this first open qualifier. That is understandable. That's the nature of competition. But to have players that come from your own organization be able to step up into this stage, into kind of the next level of competition, I think speaks volumes to how well everything's kind of going, and for the future of the organization as well.
Yeah, it's a talent pipeline, right? And right now it's looking like Dare as an organization is pretty far upstream. They're pumping out talent here. And with that, Orbital, let's look at their current roster of talents here. Censored Mercy in the top lane, Limo in the jungle, Enigma are playing under the account differential in the mid lane here, BMFX and Blossoms rounding out their bot side. And when I look at the talents they've picked up, Limo, Enigma, these are players we saw on Dare White last split. And so Dare obviously thinks that there's more to develop out from these players. They're a solid base to build around. But BMFX and Blossoms, these are some interesting players for me. BMFX, I remember seeing them in Wildcard Gaming in spring 2021 Proving Ground circuit. And BMFX can be a standout player, has carried games before. I'm not sure why we didn't see them in summer, but I'm excited to see them back in here in 2022. And even in their game against Taco Gaming, it came off the back of BMFX exceptional positioning, tons of damage on their Jinx.
Yeah. And talking about Jinx, I also wanted to veer off. As soon as you said that, my eyes lit up because we even get to talk about, as we're about to head into draft shortly, we are just waiting on some of the players, of course, and making sure everything's ship shape there. But when you mentioned Jinx, that's something that I think it really needs to be propped out because, yes, players are playing up to what we're expecting, or maybe even more so in some of these upsets, right? But the champion pools as well for these players have kind of we've seen it kind of flow out into a steady pace, which is very, very interesting, right? We were wondering how this season 12 would actually shape up, and there have been some interesting picks in bans coming across, most notably in the bot side. You mentioned Jinx, 27 games played, I believe, outside of not getting banned, right? But Caitlyn rounding out the top,
Yes.
one shy from hitting 30 games played here in this open qualifier.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned Caitlyn because Dare is one of the few teams who doesn't seem to care about Caitlyn. They haven't banned or picked Caitlyn. They've given it up to the opposing teams, and BMFX seems to prefer the Jinx, really, the scaling potential of that pick. Now, Orbital, we are into picks and bans, and on the blue side here, I believe it is supposed to be Winthrop instead of what we're seeing there, Golden Guardians. That's just a holdover from last night. And Dare Gaming, they're on to...
Hey, there we go.
Oh, wait, no, never mind. Other way around. Dare is blue side, Winthrop is red here. And you know what? That makes sense. The moment I saw the Caitlyn ban, yep, that makes sense. Because Dare isn't going to ban the Caitlyn. They went for the Akshan instead. And it's Winthrop actually banning out that Caitlyn themselves.
Yeah. And another one is, of course, Akshan. I love the fact that Akshan is always first ban. Unfortunately, that is now a blue side ban. If you aren't ready to run it, it is a permanent ban now. Same with Corki. A lot of people were talking about the mid lane priority that was going to be coming around. And so to see those champions banned away. And then, of course, GP. If you know the opponent has a GP in the top side, you're going to ban it, unfortunately. So we can see it shaped up. Interesting, though, Winthrop banning out two of the primary ADCs. So not only is Winthrop saying, hey, you know what? We understand Dare maybe doesn't play with the Caitlyn. It's fine. We have to ban away the Jinx as well.
Yeah, a lot of attention paid to BMFX, and I'm a little bit worried that we are throwing that much attention into the bot lane here. It's not like they don't have other carry players. I mean, Limo and Enigma, we just talked about the fact that they are playmakers. They are the building blocks, the fundamental blocks for this team. And Censored Mercy, I'm not as familiar with, but from what I've heard, Censored Mercy is a very flexible player who can do whatever they want. If they need a carry, Censored Mercy can step up to the plate.
Yeah, and we can already see what Dare's kind of going for as I go into the very, very blurry blizzards of wherever I am, apparently. Lulu is going to be the blind pick support here, or possibly shifting things up wherever they decide. But Winthrop, of course, saying, hey, we're going to go for the hard line, what we do enjoy, which is the Jhin and the Viego coming out here in the first two.
Okay, really aggressive pickups to come through already. Generally, when you see a Jhin, it is for a lot of that lane control. And into the likes of a Lulu, that can be questionable at times. Lulu can just look to scale, but that's not what they're doing. That's a Kai'Sa being hovered here, Orbital. And you know what? Kai'Sa did receive some buffs, I believe, in the preseason there, or was it just on this current patch 12.1? And she's viable. She's aggressive, and paired with that Lulu, it's not a defensive Lulu here. It's a Lulu to enable you to dive in aggressively.
Yeah, and coupled with the Hecarim, you know that's a speedy, speedy horse. To another little perspective, a little bit of a tidbit, as you will, Hecarim is currently the most played jungler as well at 14 games currently being played, or at least taken a look at. Right, Victor, of course, in the mid lane is going to be the blind pick. It is a safe, reliable mid lane pick that a lot of players have started to opt for, so I do like seeing it so far.
Yeah, and one of the things about the Victor pickup is that Victor in the preseason was everywhere, considered top tier mid laner. Coming to 12.1, there were some questions about whether Victor would be able to shove out fast enough here. But when you've got a Viego as your jungler, you don't need to shove out. You can let the opposing mid laner shove out and then look for those skirmishes. The damage from Victor is still there. And for Winw, they're only looking to pick up a support and a top laner. So they get to hold that last pick for Mabud here. You can ban away the GP, which he's known for, of course, but he's still got a lot up his sleeve, a lot of things they can pick up here. So for Winw, into the likes of this Lulu Kai'Sa, I was going to say, you probably want something engagey here. You can punish them early on. This isn't going to be a very, very poke-heavy lane coming out. And when you've got a Jhin, something like a Leona, that's a lot of early burst damage.
Yeah, and I mean, even though Lulu is well known as kind of like the nice OG counter to a lot of these engaged champions with the polymorph, with the wild growth, it is a solid rebuttal. It's still very difficult. And actually, out of the three kind of engaged supports that we saw, the Thresh, the Nautilus, and the Leona, I actually prefer the Leona more. You don't actually have to get in. The Solar Flare gives you a huge range. But dare say, hey, listen, we know you picked up the Leona. All out. This is ADC ball comp or jungle ball comp. The Shen locked in on the top side. Another champion that a lot of people were very interested in. Moving forward. All right. They heard me say it. All right. It is a ball ADC comp or ball jungle comp.
Basically, it's a big fat meatball. Orbital is what we're seeing from there. I love it. It's a really solid composition to come through. Shen, so strong in the current meta, especially with the TP changes. Forget the TP. You still have Stand United, and you hit level 6 in the solo lane roughly, 8 minutes into the game there? So well before TPs come through. Winw, the thing with Shen is that there isn't a good answer to Shen in terms of globals here. Normally, you could pick something like a GP to try and match with that Cannon Barrage, but that got banned. So Winw, instead of trying to match that Shen, they're forced to just straight out try and beat that Shen with this Mordekaiser pickup. It is a great counter into Shen, but it's a little bit more difficult to dive. One of the big changes of 12.1 is that if you do run teleport on your team is better defensively. If they're diving in, and if we see Enigma pick up that teleport for the Orianna there, Enigma can TP to reinforce that defense on the turret. But Winw can't commit any extra members into that dive. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, and that's something that we've actually seen quite a bit. I had the pleasure, I believe, yesterday I was casting with Radw, taking a look at some of the other teams that was going on, and some of those bot lane dives, we saw that they can run very, very well. Yeah. I believe it was Evil Genius's Prodigies that we were taking a look at, and some of their dives are very, very clean, and it's very interesting to not have to wait and see if a teleport was coming in, right? If someone else is going to teleport right behind, if someone else is going to come in and try and aggress, that's pretty much it, right? There is no chance, as you stated, for someone else to really come in from a flank from anywhere else. It's quite literally, these are the champions that you're going to play with, and no one else is really going to join. I'm very, very interested to see what happens with that. Of course, on the top side as well, that Mordekaiser will have, if the Shen does like to teleport out, may have a chance, if they can get a lead in the lane, may have a chance to be able to move forward and maybe get a couple plates as well.
Yeah, and this Mordekaiser last pick for Winw serves a second purpose as well. In lane, it beats out the Shen. He gives you a split push threat. But also in the team fights here, we talked about this ball composition, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times you see Kai'Sa, and the entire team needs to be a composition that can go in with the Kai'Sa, or you need to be able to provide enough shields and support. This is the latter. If you remove Kai'Sa from the fight, if Kai'Sa goes into Death Realm alone with Mordekaiser, you don't get shields. You don't get buffs. And Mordekaiser gets to just bonk this Kai'Sa down. So the Mordekaiser pick, really good pickup for Winw here. And from the amount of attention we're spending in the bot lane, bro, you can kind of tell where I think the action's largely going to lie. Yep. Leona Jhin, that's a kill lane. Lulu, Kai'Sa doesn't like to play defensive. She likes to go aggressive as well. So I'm expecting to see plenty of dives into the bot lane. And if anything, I need to see Winw be very careful with how they play out these dives here and make sure they have sufficient pressure onto Censored Mercy's Shen to make sure that they can't help out. If not, that Shen is always going to be more impactful on those bot side plays.
Yeah. Always going to be looking for those teleport plays and always looking for that opportunity to kind of set up and prep for the team. I'm very, very interested because that could also enable a very aggressive team as well. So as we will be getting underway very, very shortly here, very excited to bring you day number 2 of the Proving Grounds Open qualifiers here. Day 2 as teams scramble to try and lock in either the second or third wins, and some scrambling to not be sent out early. Looking at it, I hope before I start talking a little bit more, I do hope that we do have the game on screen. which will hopefully be coming up. But of course, walking down those members of these squads, we will talk a little bit about Dare going on screen. It will be Censored Mercury in the top side, Censored Mercy, very sorry, in the top lane. Limo in the jungle. Differential, at least for the names that you see on screen registering in the mid lane. BMFX, of course, we talked about in the ADC role, and Blossoms at support.
And on the red side here, Winthrop University with Mabud in the top lane. Crab Appleboy, also known as Mordio there in the jungle. Avano in the mid lane. The only Vex as AD carry, even though it's not a Vex, it's a Jhin. And Sir Kenji as the Leona support there.
I would be very interested to see a Vex ADC out of nowhere, right? Just like send it, right? Just send it. We have nothing else to lose. And either watching it fail spectacularly or having it be immensely powerful. That would be torture.
I mean, you say that. I actually think Vex could be put in AD carry right now with the changes to the meta. Mages are actually a legitimate answer right now. I mean, Syndra, we've seen that already in the open qualifiers here. Vex could do a similar role as well. So, not this game, but who knows, Orbital. We've got another two after this tonight. Now, in the bot lane, I want to highlight that ward in that middle bush there in the bot side, coming through from the side of Dare. I love that ward early because they needed to make sure they didn't get cheesed by Sir Kenji. And one of the advantages you have with the double range is that you can poke down Sir Kenji. If Leona's low on health, she actually can't engage onto you, or else she risks dying before your AD carry can really follow up in damage.
Yeah. It is something we'll have to watch out for. Of course, Mabud in the top side, laying down the mace as best as possible, but the junglers most notably, we want to keep track of where they go. Limo and Mordio going to be very, very pivotal to open this game up. As we do see Avano in the mid lane trying to bully out this Orianna.
Yeah, and that's what you kind of expect to see here. Victor does do a lot of damage, and for the Orianna, you need a couple of items usually before you can start to trade very equally against the Victor. So that's to be expected. And if anything, it will require a bit of jungle intervention. Bot side, Sir Kenji, that was max range, but getting punished for it.
Yeah, and remember, this is a Glacial Augment Leona, right? It is not as tanky as you would usually expect with maybe the Aftershock and everything else inside. It's a very aggressive support style on a champion that kind of needs a tank. So BMFX and Blossoms rightfully punishing in that fight, but Mordio showing for a very, very open lane push, and this might give Limo a little bit of an entry.
Yeah, and Limo knew. They knew exactly where Mordio was the moment he cleared that ward going to the bot side. So Limo's ready to counter gank, has the Ghost available as well, but opts not to pull the trigger because you're already clearing a little bit faster here. Surprising me, though, is the fact that they didn't even try and contest for that scuttle because Limo was actually a level up from Mordio, and Sir Kenji had already taken quite a bit of poke prior to that scuttle.
Yeah. It was a little bit weird, but you know, we'll let it slide here, and we can understand as well that Mordio was called down just to allow Vex and Kenji to get a recall off, right? That early trade on the Leona really didn't do him justice, so now you can see the Leona going, okay, obviously, can't make it work at the bot side. Let's look somewhere else. Orianna in the mid lane differential, not enjoying that fight so far. And now we're going to see the first containment of the Hecarim. There's a reason Hecarim has been seen so often, and the best way to shut it down, rotate into 2v1.
Yeah, Hecarim is very squishy. A lot of his strengths comes from the burst of damage they can put out fairly early on. But if you 2v1, Hecarim will struggle. But Limo managed to secure the scuttle and get out. And for Winthrop, this is what Sir Kenji is known for, these sort of really heavy roaming plays. Sir Kenji left bot lane, recalled, and hasn't gone back since, is still trying to camp this mid lane here. If differential steps up, he's dead, but doesn't step up, is perfectly safe. And all this time that Sir Kenji is spending roaming here is being reflected a little bit in terms of the level differential. The Leona going to fall behind a little bit here.
That's to be expected, of course. I'm not sure if you really want to tower dive a Lulu Kaisa at any point in the game, so that'll be really interesting to see. But the roams have helped, right? The pressure that it brings, the idea that if you don't see Kenji, this glacial augment slowing and the damage reduction can come down, and now we're going to see it again. But again, as soon as it happens, Blossoms and BMFX are ready and willing to step up and aggress back.
Yeah, and I want to point out the item discrepancy here, right? We're seeing a serrated Dirk for BMFX, only double longswords or only Vex. So with the shielding, BMFX actually winning out these trades here. I was getting a little bit worried for them. You saw Limo kind of waiting around there, but good movement from Winthrop here. They've secured the vision, and this vision not only helps them keep the bot lane safe, it's going to potentially secure them first Drake for the game.
Yeah. First Dragon, of course, being that Ocean feels pretty good if you can pick it up. And honestly, I think that'll help Kenji out more than we're looking at Blossoms and BMFX on the bot side. So Mordio feeling okay with that, and a lot of pressure being granted towards this bot side by Mordio. We really haven't seen him enter any of the other lanes. And as you said before, that top lane is one we're kind of keeping eyes for, because if Mercy is allowed to farm up, if Mercy is allowed to be this slow Shen buildup, it could spell a little bit of difficulty for Winthrop.
Yeah, and since we're looking at the top lane here, Orbital, huge props to Censored Mercy on this Shen. Pretty much did even with Mabud so far in terms of CS, which is the huge thing in this particular matchup, right? We're not seeing pressure come up from Mordio because Mabud is expected to be able to win that in the 1v1 here. So Censored Mercy being able to allow Limo to freely roam instead and match all the pressure from Mordio is huge. And in fact, Limo now invading into the enemy jungle. This is a little bit risky, and Sir Kenji, once again, not in the bot lane. This should be warning bells for Dare.
Blast cone over. Taking a little bit of a look, and I think Limo was able to pick it up. Nope, still there, so no red buff for Limo. And Mordio should be able to hang on to that top side of the map, something to kind of keep in mind as well. I didn't really notice it, but it kind of got brought to my attention when we were talking about the pressure that Mabud and Mercy would have. Mercy actually went the aggressive Ignite Summoner spells. So for all that we talked about in terms of lane dominance and lane control that can come out, Mercy's actually pretty even, right? In terms of teleports, in terms of capabilities to enter a fight, it's about net zero.
Yeah, it's an interesting argument of whether Ignite or Teleport, because Ignite gives you more lane strength, but hold up here, Death Realm?
Yeah, Mabud pulled it early just to make sure Mordio was going to be in the zone. And of course, because Mercy had not recalled yet, is going to get under the tower, but that's a flash out. And one more shot is going to do it. No, Mabud was able to take it out. Limo should be able to take it home, though. Again, that should be the punch in. Limo is now going to try and burn down Mabud, but it's a little bit difficult. You're level 6 versus level 7. The return fire, though. Limo taking one. So is Mordio. The junglers marking up the scoreboard.
Great play from Censored Mercy to be able to answer that, because that gank looks so clean. The Death Realm was also to deny vision, so Censored Mercy wouldn't know that the gank necessarily is coming through, but that's your difference between Ignite and TP here, right? Ignite gives you more lane presence, but now Censored Mercy has to walk back to lane, and that almost even CS now has a bit of a change, a bit of a discrepancy coming out here, and this is where Mercy has to be careful that they don't start to behind.
Gonna be a bit difficult. Just taking a look here, it's happy about being in that top side. Again, if you can drag Limo top, means different in the mid still being punished. Yet PS is pretty much but Avant as consistently of the wave tower. That is something that I want to get on. It feels like it has not at all.
Yeah, definitely not a ton of action here. Looking at it, getting health for, for differential, right? Hazmat can wave. Be careful the dive, and I'm not surprised we've seen this from either jungle. Limo ganking, mostly counter ganking, and now that you're level 7, you had that onslaught of shadows. I need to see Limo start to accelerate the pace. You've got a Kaisa who doesn't necessarily scale amazingly well, so you want to start making moves in the mid game here. Get the action kicking off early.
Yeah. Try and move a little bit quicker. This game has been moving at a snail's pace, which is understandable. Don't get us wrong. You know, we understand that this game is going to be a little bit slower than normal with the champions alive, but of course, it is going to be the call of Winthrop to say, hey, it's been slowing down. We should be okay, even on top of Scuttle. So go ahead and take this Rift Herald. Try and open up one of the towers, as pretty much no plates have gone down.
Yeah, Winthrop has done a great job with the jungle objective so far. Mordio getting that first dragon, getting the Herald, and their setup has actually been incredibly clean as well. We saw the bot side, the way they set up the vision. But speaking of the bot side, Limo.
Oh, they're going to call it. Now the
that
TP is
burst.
called in, but the damage is just too much. And that's a 4v2 now under the tower. Kenji is going to watch as the Realm of Death draws in Mercy, but it might not be enough. The tower aggro juggle is actually fairly good. Might be a trade of 1 for 1.
Oh, no,
Limo now is going to fall, and that's a 2 for 2. Mordio, though, wants to make it a 3 for 2 as the Kaisa is going to recall in the Alco Blossoms. Does have Exhaust and Flash. Heartbreaker doesn't really find anyone. Is it going to go? Yes, it does. BMFX making the risky call, and it pays out. Big gank on the bot side going the way of Dare. But Winthrop are able to fire right back and make it even.
Okay, really well played from Winthrop, and that's the difference between Stand United and TP, right? The TP changes pre-14 minute, but you're diving, so the TP matches the Stand United almost perfectly there, and Winthrop don't lose a beat. And because you're dead, because you didn't have control of objectives, there you go, Herald. It's not quite enough to secure first turret here, but it's so low, and in a way, it's almost worse for Dare here to leave that turret standing, because now BMFX and Blossoms are diveable. We've seen Limo pull the trigger on the turret dive, but Mordio can look for the same turret dive as well.
Yeah, with Dragon up as well, honestly, the dive was, it was a good idea, but as you said, might have backfired a little bit. So much granted over 4 plates in the bot lane, plus 2 kills, plus their second Dragon with Cloud Soul being played for. A massive swing in their favor. The 700 gold difference doesn't really do it justice, it feels like.
Yeah, it doesn't. And normally for Cloud Souls, we're kind of like, it doesn't really matter that much. But movement speed buffs are going to be pretty huge, actually, for this team, for Winthrop, to let Mabud move quicker, get into the fights, move through the fights as well. And for Sakenji as well, the engages from this Leona, the faster Sakenji can move, the better. We've seen Sakenji roam everywhere. And I want to go back to that point about the way Winthrop was setting up for objectives. They, first one, get the pressure, get the vision down, bot side, chase out Limo, take Dragon top side. Avano pushes, Mabud pushes as well, and then they send Sakenji to secure, right? And you can see that Sakenji is pretty critical to a lot of these movements all across the map. Once bot lane goes down, Sakenji doesn't even need to stay, or doesn't even need to revisit bot lane anymore. They can start moving to help all the other lanes get further and further ahead.
Ooh. Top lane, of course, we're seeing Mabud just do his job, right? Try and manage that top lane. Ensure that Censored Mercy never really is allowed to do much more than grab a wave and back off, as that CS discrepancy is starting to climb out of control. Riftmaker already completed, plus the steel-plated boot cap. So massive, massive advantage to that Mordekaiser. Now Kenji in the mid lane is going to throw down the Soul Flare, is able to tag differential. Look who's in the mid lane. That's not what you want to be. Double shockwave, but it's not going to be much else. That's going to be the Heartbreaker going in, but Mordio is not going to enjoy that. Here comes Limo looking for kill. He's going to charge straight, then straight back onslaught of shadows. Beautiful custom. They to a little bit rough engaging Kenji. Got his tank. The glacial huge wall. Then look how Killer Instinct already did. Up, that is going to be the 4 for 0 in mid.
It took almost 14 minutes, Orbital, but we finally got to see the aggressive dive composition that Dare drafted start to work together here. And look at their health bars, Orbital. That is proof of their turret aggro juggling. They're constantly dropping the aggro, able to find all of that. Now, the problem with that is, yes, you get a whole bunch of kills. That's great. But that's only 600 gold up. And meanwhile, Mamud is just split pushing. And ultimately, kills are nice, but you need turrets to win the game.
Yeah, we can talk up the kills as much as possible. Because, I mean, I will grant it was hype, right?
Yeah.
Being able to come out in that fight, which I honestly gave Mercy low odds of surviving. You dive into 3, it didn't look great. And still able to survive. Fantastic job. Now you need to do that when you have waves prepped. When you have players like you were talking about in position. That's going to be the big call. Kenji, though, walking straight Limo, and Limo wants nothing.
Limo's in a great position to try and contest this right now. Importantly, vision on where Radw was is that far up. You're assuming that there's backup nearby. You're with differential. So you get kind of a load of bursts, but it might not be enough to actually kill the tank. And for Dare, there's no need to pull the trigger on this. You're best on the offensive here. Wait till you get the right members down. We said this bot lane turret's kind of bait here, so it's not as safe if you mess up your engage.
That's what they're hoping for, but that's going to be 2 towers now. Knock down both top and bot. So Winthrop playing the map a little bit nicer. They're going to open up the sides. That means Mabud is going to have a lot more free time to kind of farm up, push out wherever they want. He is going to now free up Vex and Kenji in a more standard formation to try and take down some of the other towers.
Yeah, we've seen what Dare can do here on the map, how their composition ideally operates. But let's touch a little bit on Winthrop, because you mentioned the fact that the turrets have gone down to longer lane, but Bud's going to enjoy that. Definitely. This Mordekaiser, we're past the 14-minute mark, has enhanced teleport, or similar to the ult teleport, right? He can start actually reaching fights. And with the Riftmaker in pocket, I don't know who can really match Mabud right now. There's no healing cut on the side of Dare Gaming, so it's a little bit rough to expect Censored Mercy to be able to deal with that. The rest of the team, Sir Kenji and Ivano are going to be absolutely critical in team fights. Just the sheer amount of burst they provide is going to enable Mordio to start getting a ton of resets. And if anybody tries to run, there's still the curtain call from only Vex here. So it does feel like the next couple of fights is going to be about who engages first.
Yeah. And the engagers actually called. Limo is going to call that in.
Oh,
with Shockwave. That is not what you want to have happen. I don't think anyone saw that except for Mordio. So if it's not called out, they might be playing for it. Shockwave lands on, or Solar Flare lands on the top side. They do get the kill. Winthrop looking like they are stronger here. A unfortunate mishap of ultimates means that Dare do have to run away. It's going to be Wild Growth used. BMFX looking for a single kill but can't find it. And the lasers should take it home. Ivano burning down that Kaisa. A narrow, difficult fight for Winthrop. Nets them 2.
Nets them 2. Nets them a dragon as well, and a herald if they so wish here. Dare is not in position to respond. And Orbital, we see the duality of matter right here. We saw a beautiful dive by Dare Gaming pull off an excellent fight, and we just saw the whiff to come through as well. Unfortunately, if that shockwave had hit, maybe they could change things, but that's my concern. That's what I'm talking about when we talk about who pulls the trigger first. The moment a team gets a kill, the rest of the fight is going to very quickly snowball in their favor. And now with Winthrop winning that critical fight, putting themselves at soul point, 5 minutes time, Dare has to go to that dragon, and meanwhile, Winthrop still have that option of split pushing. Mabud did not even have to use teleport.
Overboard's still up, like you said. Going to be interesting to watch kind of where he goes, but now with that fight going down, Dare have to realize that if they are not consistent, this game is not in their pocket by any stretch of the imagination. Limo just barely getting that blue buff, and Mordio punishing rightly so, right? For as much as Limo has force, this could actually be a kill. Now they're going to try and turn it around here. Limo, though, dancing in and out. Shockwave is going to miss again. The differential here of this Orianna play is looking pretty obvious.
Yeah, a little bit tough there, and differential needs to shake it off at this point. That's 2 missed shockwaves. The second one, though, not as critical. I'm honestly not sure they could have finished off Mordio in that particular play there, but what it does mean is that the moment that shockwave is down, Winthrop can just group up and start forcing fights. They know they've got the better team fight at that point, and so they just bunch up at Herald, and Dare just has to walk away again. They have not managed to score themselves a single neutral objective this game so far. Hell, they've not even gotten a single objective. No turrets down either.
Yeah, and that is one of the rougher things to have, and I'm very curious, right? We're talking about mental as you move through the rest of the Swiss bracket, and with both teams sitting at 1-1, even if they lose here, they still have a chance, right? Missing shockwaves, no matter where it is, right, or even if it's a misclick, anything like that, it feels bad, and especially when it's noticed, especially when you know the team's playing off of it, it is something you kind of have to keep eyes on, whether we start seeing differential just not take those opportunities or just hold it for a little bit too long. I'm very curious how that will affect him throughout the rest of this game as we start cresting that 20-minute mark. Baron starts becoming a play, and with Soul going up, this is going to be the call. Now they're going to go ahead and chase down. They have found Vex. That is going to be one. What more can they get? Again, Mabud is coming in here, is very tanky and very damage heavy with Emily. That's another, the mask in there, so great burn damage coming through, but the catch on the ADC is quite important. Now they're going to go ahead, taunt up Kenji, who again melts like butter. Glacial goes out, but not by much. That's going to be Morio trying to dive in, and this is a 3v5 fight. I'm not sure Winthrop want this. It feels a little bit desperate. Shockwave finally lands on a crucial target, but can't get the Realm of Death off. Orianna does fall, but you know what? You hit the Shockwave, you got your team 4, and now you might be able to chase for more. Avado, though, might be dancing just on the outskirts of danger here. Low HP bars, they are going to back off, and once again, you get the kills and not much else, but it's consolation at that point.
Yeah, and for Dare, that is what they need to do. Not now, but in a minute 40 seconds. When that dragon comes up, zero hesitation, because you can see the burst, and there's not a lot to stop Limo from being able to get through. Sure, there's stuns from Sir Kenji, there's CC from other members, but none of it stops the onslaught of shadows. And the moment that burst goes down, BMFX Killer Instinct is a perfect way to describe not just that ultimate, but just the way BMFX has been playing here. It's not about the shockwaves, it's about the assassination potential from Limo and BMFX.
I almost want to say that Shockwave just needs to be held. You know, we were talking about holding it for the last second. Honestly, at this point, I'm okay with it. If they do want to hold the Shockwave just as a defensive tool, make sure to kind of slow everyone down, I would give them that. With how they're playing, with how Limo has been executing, it's good, but that is one Kenji did not want to go in on. This is why Lulu feels quite good against some of these engaged champions. Shockwave lands on 2 now on the back line, but no one else can really follow up. Heal comes out of Vex. Tower does go down, and now they're going to try and chase the fight. Mordio tries to go in, but the slap of the hammer means Lulu is down. Mabud is going to draw Limo into the realm as shadows, and they're going to try and chance it out again. It's going to take a while for this horse to get beaten down, and they are going to save it. Stand United is used. The mid lane fight is on. Both teams jockeying for position, angry that maybe they lost a few members in the earlier parts of the game.
Big miscommunication there, Orbital coming through from Dare Gaming. Censored Mercy taking that initial chunk, went back to base, but Stand United was not up and available yet. The mid lane turret was low and Herald was coming down, so just a series of misplays. Censored Mercy, is he too deep?
Should be okay. Gets rooted up, stunned up, but again, with the Orianna there, getting a little extra MR armor is going to be the healthy benefit. The problem here is that both Limo and Mercy have taken huge chunks of damage early on. Flash in from Genji saying, hey, look, this dragon is our ticket to the soul, so might as well try and play all out. Laser lands on multiples, gets rooted up on differential side. Looks like this dragon has to be fought over. What will Dare do? They're going to try and chase in. No real ultimate. Glacial all the way through the back. Mercy all the way in the back line as well. This is a little bit of a split fight. Dragon goes away with them. Shockwave again whiff. And that should be the signal to get away. Every single member of Winthrop are allowed to survive. And Dare get nothing.
They lose the soul. That was so Orbital there. And Mordio risking life and limb, Heartbreaker in, flash out, steals it away from Limo there. It was really close between the two and utterly worth it. Yes, Dare Gaming finally get their first turret of the game, but I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. The goal lead wasn't even big enough that they got objective bounties either here. So Dare, you know, a little bit on the back foot here, not lining up their ultimates at the right time. It always feels like the big outs aren't there when the big objectives are being contested.
Yeah. And even if they are, they're coming up mid-fight, right? It's those weird situations in a competition where it's a ball comp, right? You want all ultimates available at the same time. You want to send it. If this goes Baron as well, this could be insane. Kenji, though, slowing down multiple, are going to draw a few people in. Mabud is going to solo him out, and that just gives a clean Baron. How many are going to survive through there? Mabud says, hey, I still want to fight. Looks like the Mordekaiser, though, is going to be sacrificed for a clean Baron takeaway. Everything off of the map as Dare get crumbs.
Raid boss down. Great, you killed Mabud, but Winthrop killed Baron, and that's still Baron on 4 members here. The good news is that Mabud not having it is actually pretty critical because he's the big split pusher with the teleport and Able. If Mabud doesn't have it, he's going to still push at a slower rate here. And for Winthrop, they aren't a great composition to 1-3-1 here. If they ever caught in a 1-3-1, their 3 is probably going to lose against the sheer burst damage of Dare Gaming. So the push will be slow and methodical. Dare still have ways to clear the minions here. And hey, if Winthrop ever oversteps a little bit, you always got to watch that ball placement. You always got to watch for Limo's engage.
Always got to keep track of where this crazy wombo combo could come from, but I have to give props to Winthrop. They have so far controlled their own game, but you know what isn't controlled? Two-man Shockwave, they do get it, but a nice Gale Force out means Vex once again gets to survive. Yes, 0-3, that's fine. You're doing your job as an ADC, you're staying alive, and you're trying to pump out the damage.
And Winthrop, they got away with that there. It's a little bit surprised since Mercy wasn't in position. And Limo was pushing out the top wave, so there was no follow-up after that huge Shockwave, and now Shockwave down for another 2 waves here. That's going to be about a minute roughly where Winthrop get to push in Limo.
All right, well, this is going to be the call once again. They found a squishy, and they get the kill. Killer Instinct straight to the back. This is Dare's bread and butter, and 2 tanks sectioned away from their main jungler. This is going to be very, very scary. This is going to be duel on the other side. BMFX finding Mordio. That's not where you want to be. A nice QSS, though. Limo is allowed to survive, and they should be able to clean that one up so nicely. BMFX, of course, running out the Viego. And the rest of Winthrop is sent packing. They don't need a wombo combo. Dare will chase down one by one.
Can they get anything else off the back of this, Orbital? It's a big question because it feels like we keep seeing this. Look at the kill score, 16-7. If you only look at that, if you're looking at goal, you're like, hey, Dare's winning, right? Dare's winning, right? No, they aren't. And now they're pushing in. They need to get this. It looks like they will, and they will also be able to stall out the rest of the Baron. So for the first time this game, I'd say, it feels like Dare is actually on even footing with Winthrop. My only concern is, how's your scaling against the likes of a Viego, Mordekaiser, and Victor? They're going to scale up harder than you, so it feels like your window is very narrow. You've got 5 minutes to try and continue growing your lead, continue making these sort of plays here before they start to get out of hand and Mabud starts to 1v3 people.
Yeah, and most notably as well, Ivano in that mid lane, a main reason he's been targeted so many times is because he really hasn't had any safety, right? He went straight into the damage orientation, went Leandri's into Void Staff, now has a stopwatch, right? That safety mechanism that every mid laner does need and rightly picked up. We'll have to watch and see if Dare have also identified that, right? Ivano is no longer an option that you can go for. And on the other side, Blossom just gets popped, bloomed right by the tower. And that is a tag of tags. Dare losing their support, losing their wild growth, is not going to have to hold on to this turret in a 5v4.
The good news for Dare is that it's just 1 kill. Blossoms will be back up before the Elder spawns here. But censored Mercy.
Yeah, Mercy trying to dive under here, just hanging on as best they can. But again, against 4 is going to get over the wall, immediately followed by Kenji, though. Soul Flare is going to slow down the horse, but with the soul in hand, it is going to be Winthrop. Feeling good about how things are playing out here, but they're not done. They're not done at all. They get the taunt flash. They get the damage, but the Shockwave pulls them right back again. Dare explode in a furious battle, and Winthrop might have bitten off a bit more. They can choose stopwatch use. In an unfortunate scenario, they pick up a triple, and BMFX going BMX here and is crushing it in the bottom lane fight.
How, Orbital, did Dare just pull that off? I don't understand how they managed to do it, but they did. And like we said, Elder's coming up in 20 seconds here. They've got time to continue pushing. They're looking to try and crack the base open, and they can always fall back to that Elder. Censored Mercy's up, has the stand united here up and available, so it's not like there's a ton of kill threat from Winthrop as soon as they come back up.
Yeah, and this is the rough scenario, right? Looking for that tower. They really want it. They just want to open it up, get that bounty, which has now gone down, but they have to burn this dragon down so quickly. They were like, oh, we get tower. Wait. Elder's coming out. We have to burn this so quickly. Looks like they should get it. It should be easily taken down to about 1k every so often. Kenji is trying to run interference. I'm not sure if you want to do this. Baron is coming up shortly as well. Polymorph in the flash out of the wall. Shockwave is going to whiff. You know what? We'll give it. Enigma, I've been calling you differential for so long. I'm so sorry. It is Enigma here in the mid lane. The Shockwave, that one at least, we will excuse. You got the Elder, you have it in hand, and with Baron coming up in 30 seconds, that is the perfect buff to have.
Yeah, and we said within 5 minutes, Dare needs to accelerate their lead, find some ways to get back into the game, get ahead of the game. And I dare say they've done it here now that they've picked up the Elder. Like you said, Baron is the next objective for them. And for Winthrop here, You have to fight this. You're not in a great position to let that go through. If they get Elder, if they get Baron, your mid lane is wide open there. There's only an inhibitor. You walk those minions in and you can win that. This team can dive you under the turrets. We've seen it happen multiple times here. So Winthrop, can they contest it? Ivano has TP. Mabud does not. So Mabud actually needs to be moving now.
Looks like they're actually just going to go for the steal, and honestly, I can kind of be okay with this, right? It's so scary. The death ball composition has shown that it's very powerful, so Baron taking down very, very low. They're going to dive right back in. Is he going to get the steal? Goes in, 1k left, and no, it is going to be destroyed. Everything used, Immortio is going to be watching from a gray screen as Dare, for the first time in what feels like forever, have that opportunity. They have a 5v4. Everyone is now recalling, and actually Censored is running Mabud down on the bot side, just making sure the recall can't happen. They're going to charge in 4v4 or 4v3 and try and end this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you can stop Mabud from going back, that's a lot of safety, a lot of tankiness, a lot of damage that Winthrop lacks here. And Elder is still ticking. They're still threatening here.
Yeah, 10 seconds left or 15 seconds left on this jungler, and they just go in and annihilate him again. The dragon roars as Dare say thank you. They will move to 2-1 in a blistering battle of wits. In the first game of day number 2, Dare will move to 2-1 with the victory over Winthrop University.
Orbital, don't call it an upset, because this is the second time. The first time, you can say Dare got lucky against the likes of Taco Gaming, but the second time already they've beaten a higher seed, and the seeding here does not reflect their strength whatsoever. I know that Dare, this roster, it came together a little later than some of the others here, but they are clicking together. They are working out the kinks mid-game. Differential, Enigma, missing a couple shockwaves early on. We saw a little bit of a fumble in the mid-game team fights, but towards the end, they were getting cleaner and cleaner. They were winning fights that realistically weren't in their favor. It's not as if, they finally found their engaged con. No, they mechanically outplayed, pulled apart the side of Winthrop University here, and Dare Gaming just need one more win to secure their spot in the actual main event here, the Proving Ground Circuit qualifier.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, I think that's the power that you have when you dare to game, right? I will say it. I've thought about it a lot. I wanted to say it because I tripped over my words so often here, even in game number 1. But Winthrop had a fantastic macro game orientation, completely shut out Dare. Yep. But the thoughts to just say, hey, send it. We have no other option but to run and gun for these squishies, for these opportunities. Dare went for it and were rewarded. Difficult early game, difficult mid game, came back in the end, and I can't wait to see them in game number 2. Of course, we are waiting for the rest of the Swiss bracket here in game around number 3 of the 5 rounds we have to finish up. So I do believe we'll go to a short break, hopefully update everyone of the rest of the games later, and get game number 4 up here of these 2-day open qualifiers event going for you shortly. So don't go anywhere. And welcome back here. We are ready to go with round number 4. It's been a long wait. Of course, technical delays on the other side, and with the Swiss bracket, you gotta wait around, but we're excited. We're coming to you live with what could potentially be Dare's lock-in game here as they face off against Radiance. Both teams 2-1, looking to get their 3rd win.
Well, with the format here, Orbital, it's not just Dare's chance to make it here. It's also Radiance's chance. Winner auto qualifies right away. So definitely a huge one for both of these teams here. And it's interesting how they're matching up here. I mean, Radiance, when you look at this roster, it's names that you're probably familiar with if you're in the amateur scene. Portion the top lane, Bluster, into the jungle from TSM Amateur previously. Crimson, who's General Sniper's twin brother. Raheen, Light Pulse, both big names in the bot lane here. There's a lot of star power. So for them to be in the same boat as Dare, a little bit surprising, and to me speaks more about how Dare has come together as a team.
Yeah, and I think you said it all the way at the beginning of the stream, right? This was talking about how Dare have risen to the occasion, fighting against all odds, and this is one of them, 100%, right? If they take this team down, this is Radiance of all teams, right? This is an org that has a storied past that are well known as being one of those upper echelon teams, and they have every right to fight for that spot as well. So I think that's going to be really, really fun to see. Taking a look at Dare's past game, though, there were some highlights and there were a few lowlights as well that might come into play here in round 4.
They were correcting things as we went along, Orbital, but definitely do have to keep our eyes into that mid lane, particularly for Enigma. When he was on point, it was great. But those missed shockwaves, those are sort of mistakes you can't afford against a team like Radiance here. Radiance, they lost to only Supernova. They beat U of Michigan as well as Supernova Dark Matter. But in their only loss to Supernova, it was a comprehensive win from Supernova. They really strangled out all of Radiance's options. If you give them any space to breathe, Crimson, while not as well known as General Sniper, is a very mechanical player as well. Can definitely force their way back into the game. TC Porsche, another big carry player. And Raheen, we saw Kaisa last game from BMFX. But when you say Kaisa in the amateur scene, the first player that usually comes to mind is Raheen.
Yeah, and it's either a must ban or not, right? That is something that you have to watch for. And then I also want to point out something that was a little bit more recent is Bluster in that jungle. Just in their previous game, it was very fun to see put up a monstrous number here. I believe it was a 14-3-6 scoreline in a 29.5-minute game on Kayn, and not just any Kayn. It was First Strike Kayn, a little bit of new tech that's been coming out and showing itself in the jungle.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive. I mean, we talk right now about assassins in the jungle, and usually it comes to mind as things like Talon, Zed, Kiana. But Blue Kayn is right up there with them as well here. And Bluster did go for that lethality Kayn, which is absolutely popping people. And right alongside Bluster there was Crimson on Victor, 6-1-3 as well. Unkillable. And with that sort of mid-jungle strength, mid-jungle priority, that's how you can very quickly snowball a game. You get control over both sides, the neutral objectives. Even if your side lanes aren't doing too hot there, it's fine because you can receive backup from the mid lane from jungle ganks.
So that'll be really fun to see. Of course, Dare had their own set of conditions, and this is something that I do want to talk about, and as we get ready to go into the draft here shortly, is talking about the compositional standpoint that they have taken, right? One of the points that you had pointed out at the beginning is Dare have actually shied away from the Caitlyn a little bit, whereas Caitlyn has been a staple of pretty much every other team. It's surprising to see Dare, a 2-1 team, again, phenomenal display so far, stray away from what many would consider the OQ meta.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm fine with it. I don't think Caitlyn is the end-all be-all of AD carries right now. It's sort of the way the bot lane looks to me is you either go extreme lane presence, things like the Caitlyn, like the Jhin, especially Caitlyn Lux, for example, where you're just perma pushing all day, you get priority, and then you run the bots out of the map, or you go for the hyperscalers like the Jinx, like the Aphelios there, because bot lane is actually slightly harder to dive now, especially with a lot of these enchanter supports coming in, giving that safety. You know, we talked about the teleport last game, the way it works defensively there. It's harder to execute dives properly and cleanly against a lot of these teams. So hyperscaler is definitely coming back in. It looks like Dare has fully embraced that, leaning into the fact that BMFX, especially in later game team fights, can be that critical carry. I'm aware I'm saying that just as they came off a Kaisa game, but the point still stands overall.
Yeah, and I think that's also a very fun thing to talk about as well. Like, there are so many fun little things that we get to talk about, and let's lead right into it, right? It does feel, especially with how we saw BMFX play last game, this could be a battle of the ADC role, and specifically, you were talking about how the Kaisa is played into both champion pools, so let's touch on that, right? Depending on how teams decide to roll it out, depending on which ADCs go over, if one team gets the Kaisa, what's the response on the other side, right? Like, how are these teams going to feel in their own right, in their own compositional standpoint, to deal with this priority ADC that both teams know the others can play just as well?
I think one of the ways you can deal with the Kaisa, of course, is the early game champions. I mean, if Caitlyn's open, for example, that can kind of answer Jhin as well. If you're going for the Jinx, though, I think Kaisa is a bit of a counter to that Jinx, especially later on if you can isolate them, find them in that sort of 1v1 situation. Like we saw BMFX pull off there. And instead it becomes about who's around you. You start needing Peel to be able to lock down that Kaisa. If Kaisa gets stuck, it's like any other assassin, right? CC hard counter, very squishy, very poppable here. And considering, like we said, who is playing this particular match, you know, with Raheen, with BMFX, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a Kaisa come through for one of these AD carries.
Yeah, just leave it open maybe, or throw it up on the ban board. It really depends here. Moving in to the draft here shortly, and it'll be fun to watch because last time, obviously we have seen the Akshan is pretty much perma-banned no matter what you do. If you aren't playing it on blue side, red side is going to have to ban it away at points. We've seen it, I want to say quite a few times, and then when we do see it, it does feel kind of strong. So interesting to see if that comes through now with some of the other priorities coming out.
Yeah, given how censored Mercy's been playing, I don't think Akshan is necessarily in that champion pool. I could be wrong, but keep in mind that Dare did ban it away themselves on blue side last game. And for Radiance as well, TC Porsche doesn't come to mind as an Akshan player. Maybe Crimson plays it. From what I know of Crimson, he's a Yasuo Yone style player. So, hey, maybe AD mids could be his thing, but looks like we are into pick and ban here. And once again, Dare Gaming on the blue side. And during our break here, Orbital, we were told that apparently Dare Gaming has a 100% win rate on blue side right now. So I'm sure they're more than happy to be there. And on the red side, once again, not Winthrop, Radiance. I'm sure that will get changed shortly.
I was about to say, man, we got the salty run back here. It's going to be a great time and all that fun stuff. But of course, it is not. We will be getting, there we go. Words are now appearing gracefully on the screen. And of course, for the first time, first ban coming out here, Dare go ahead and say, no, we're just not dealing with it. GP is off the board. We will not allow that one to go through and not allow that bully to take over that top lane.
TC Porsche is known as a GP player. At least it doesn't come to my mind here, but I do think GP is incredibly strong in the current meta. The isolated top lane where you just get to sit in lane, push all day, and then drop ults on the other side. Talon coming out, and from Radiance, Caitlyn once again being banned out. I'm not sure this is the right idea here. We saw it from Winthrop, and Winthrop had to throw a Jinx ban as well. It feels like Radiance, you know, you ban that Caitlyn, you ban that Jinx, you're wasting a lot of bans.
Yeah, and considering what we know from the other squads, right? The Kai'Sa could easily come out here. So Radiance deciding what they want to do as we do hover the Yasuo ban here, which is very interesting to see. I do like kind of the confidence in saying, hey, we can deal with everything else. Maybe this specific pick we don't want to deal with is going to be the Yasuo in the end.
Yeah, and Crimson, like I said, known as a Yasuo Yone player, makes sense. Partially makes sense that they remove it. It is patch 12.1. Immortal, Shield Bow, Wits End both did just get nerfed. Yasuo and Yone have both dropped, I think, about 47% win rate, so that's considered a pretty bad win rate here. The fact that they're taking it off the table makes me think that they're worried about still the Diana Yasuo combo. Orbital, are we surprised it wasn't a Jinx ban? That did surprise me. Jinx first pick, that just feels like a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think you said it best. There was, it might have been in our downtime a little bit, but the Lulu, right? You got to take one of them off the table. One way or another, you have to deal with that combination. You cannot allow it to go over. So we are going to take a look here, and it is going to be thrown over to the Aphelios. Keep in mind, Raheem, once again, had played that in game number 3 of this entire Swiss bracket so far. Following up here, it is not going to be the Kayn, which was last time hovered. Instead, it is a Xin Zhao, a great engaged champion to try and catch that Jinx.
Yeah, and Xin Zhao still as solid as he ever was in the meta. Great duelist, great early ganks to come through for that for Bluster there. And the Aphelios, I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? Like scaling champions. You get the Jinx, we get the Aphelios. We'll match you toe for toe. This, however, surprises me. The Hecarim for Limo, we've seen it. It's great. No questions there. Rakan being picked up already. If you had picked the Rakan with the Kai'Sa, okay, it's an all-in comp. I get it. I love it. I like it. Did you really need more engage this early? Rakan with Jinx, they're going to try and apply some pressure on Aphelios, and I'm not completely sold on that idea.
Yeah, especially leaving the Thresh open, right? This is considered a great disengage style against the all-in of the Rakan. So leaving it open, almost a grand challenge of sorts to the opponent, saying, hey, Radiance, we're going to take this composition. We're going to try and send it your way. And if you can block it, great. If you can't, we will have that engage option. So mirror match across the jungle and the ADC role. Again, leaving the solo lanes. This has been the bread and butter of sorts. And surprisingly, Radiant say, hey, look, the Orianna composition, it is a very scary one. Let's not deal with it.
Yeah, and not just in terms of the Orianna composition that we saw last time, which was that ball engage composition, but just as a safety, protect the hyper carry composition here. Orianna does that very, very well. It's a safe pickup as well. And the fact that Radiant is banning all of this out, it looks... They might be going for another sort of mobile mage themselves here. I mean, Victor comes to mind. Very, very safe pickup here. Something that we often do see in the current meta. And with the Xin Zhao as well, you've got all the protection you need. So, yeah, makes sense. And then they leave the last pick for Porsche.
Yeah. I am a little bit surprised as well. It feels like, even though the victor is nice, right? I personally am adhering towards Syndra. I love the stuns that can come out here. It's also one of the top played mid laners as well, or mid lane champions currently in the OQ. However, this one is a little bit more enjoyable. Vel'Koz we've seen kind of pop up every so often. I think it has single-digit play rate currently, and I love my stats right now. I love being able to find stats now for this. It's very, very fun because we get to see it. Vel'Koz, another long-range poke champion that can delay any sort of engage. Set now being hovered for disengage on their side.
Sorry, did you see this is the first Vel'Koz we're seeing here?
No. I said
Okay.
there were other games. It's single-digit play rate, I think, though, in terms of how many. I think maybe 6 or 7, or am I wrong?
I'm seeing only one game banned Vel'Koz, no games played. I could be wrong here, but you know what? I love it because one of the things that Victor struggles the most with is trying to reach the opponent. So things like Xerath, things like Vel'Koz are great counters to Victor. Victor can't hurt you if Victor can't reach you. So you know what? That combined with the Jinx already there have so much range, and at least in the team fights, Radiant are going to be the ones struggling to force engages in. They've picked up the Dr. Mundo to try and frontline that. That's a great pickup, but against the set that they picked it into in lane, that's going to be fine. That's going to be great for the Mundo. But out of lane, in these team fights, some of that shield's broken. Mundo just becomes a bomb that Dare gets to use against Radiants themselves.
Yeah, just gets to run away with it. That Jinx is going to be so hard pressed to keep away, making sure that hopefully you get excited and hopefully that Jinx can run the map as quickly as possible. But overall, the composition from there, I do have to kind of give credence over. It's not the ball comp, right? It's not that giant meatball rolling down the mid lane. It is forced into a bit more splintered, a bit more all-encompassing. Definitely less on the specialist side.
Yeah, much more, front to back-ish composition. That said, I am a little bit concerned with what we see with this comp here, where the Rakan, to me, still doesn't quite fit in here. Yes, you've got Engage with Hecarim and Rakan, but you don't really need the Engage. What you kind of need is Disruption and Peel here. Radiants will run into you. They've got the Xin Zhao, they've got the Dr. Mundo. Their Engage is quite forced and quite telegraphed. They don't have a ton of tools here, so you don't need to engage on the side of Dare. You can kite back, but you've committed to that, and now this bot lane gets a little bit dicey. If we see Bluster repeat gank this bot lane here, if the Jinx falls behind, then Dare's composition might struggle in the mid game.
And that's a scary, scary thought. We saw what happened last time, and they barely scraped by into the late game, right? Having another situation where their mid to late transfer is not as strong could spell danger, as Radiance is known to kind of punish those extents, right? Being able to punish those scenarios as we are ready to hop into game. So we'll go ahead and get underway with round 4 and 1 of the finalists into the seeding, or into the round of 32, I should say. Nope, not 32. Brain doesn't want to work. 16. I can't do math. Yeah. So this is like the 3rd time I tried to do this, and again, I really got to stop doing it, but I love it. I love math a little bit too much. Again, a top 16, one of these teams will move on and have a secure line. The other will have to play in the round 5 and try for that all-important 5th game.
Yeah, and you can see right away here that the teams aren't messing around too much. They're getting into defensive positions. Neither team wants to throw this on a level 1 coin flip here. And because of the way both compositions work, that's perfectly fine. We touched on how Dare Gaming, they're just looking to skill up and let Radiance run into them. But Radiance as well, they're looking to skill. Victor's skilling is great. Victor skills just as well, if not actually better than Vel'Koz in terms of damage. The only issue, once again, is trying to actually get into range, and Aphelios into Jinx. We talked a little bit about why this was a bit of a risky matchup. I want to go more in depth into it, and it has to do with Aphelios' guns. When he's running Calibrum, the sniper rifle, he can match or even not really outrange Jinx, but match Jinx's range, and it sets up for his other guns. And when he's got some of his other guns here, if he's running, the Chakrams, if he's running the Scythe, Severum there, Blossoms isn't going to really have a good engage into that short range of Aphelios, and that's why I was worried for this bot lane. So both the bot lanes are more than happy to scale up and go into team fights. It's about the front lines. What can the rest of the teams do to threaten the other side's big carries?
That's the thought that they all have to think about as we do get laning underway. Both junglers opting to start on their red side of the map. It is going to mean that we are going to have a little bit of a transfer in terms of where the first games are going to go. But of course, the laners themselves are going to try their best to dance as well as they can. Blossoms with the first sign of a fight, but that immediately calls out a fight on the other, and BMFX is getting tagged down. No more shots, and immediately a flash in. Raheen goes, yeah, I'll take it. Kill number 1, Radiance. At 2 minutes, take first blood.
That right there was beautiful coordination between Raheen and Lightpulse. The moment the go button got pressed, you could see Raheen just start punishing right away. And that's the Rangers talking about. With that Calibrum right there, with the sniper rifle, you're able to start firing as soon as Lightpulse flashes in. All summoners burnt except for Blossom's flash down here. And worryingly for Dare, Limo is nowhere nearby. Limo will not be down there for a couple of minutes.
And the scary thing as well, if Bluster is able to get this gank off, it would mean Enigma is also possibly on that chopping block. Very nice sidestep. Be able to take that away, and means Enigma will be allowed to farm up a little bit more in the mid lane, allow Limo to continue farming up like you were talking about.
Yeah, we also got to see a little bit of the trading happening in that top side between Mundo and Set. Don't worry, ladies and gents, the health bars are deceptive here. They are both going to regen right back up. But you're starting to see, Set in the early levels is disgusting, very hard to deal with. And keep in mind, Mundo's passive stops CC, but at the expense of his health, a little bit of a canister pops out there. And Censored Mercy's been doing a great job making sure they step on that canister every time they use the grab. So the grab, which is normally just CC for Set here, is actually straight % health damage against the Mundo.
Feels good, man. No mana in the top side. No one cares about that. So they're pretty okay. Bluster, of course, with that first kill going down on the bot side and having an item advantage, why wouldn't you start to put a lot of focus down there? You can even see the warding path. Pure wards through that river. 4 wards dropped just to make sure Raheen and Lightpulse are allowed to continue farming well.
Hey, we already said the 80 carries right there. The big carries is what the rest of your team can do. And right now, Bluster making sure they try and protect, isolate, cover that bot lane as much as possible. And Limo tried to invade, tried to, punish a little bit. But I think he actually got spotted on the ward that TC Porsche put in the bush. I'm not sure if he did. But either way, there weren't camps up there. So Limo was just kind of chilling the entire time, waiting for things to start spawning.
A little difficult, but we can see that, of course, after that first blood, bot lane is just like, listen, we can't take any more chances. BMFX is going to try and farm it up. Is keeping in decent pace, but with how it plays out, they're going to go ahead and jump forward. BMFX is the one that's going to be hooked here. That's an easy one. I think they're going to try and target this again. No summoner spells up. And that is Radiance just punishing what they can.
Yeah, and that was a brute force lane gank. I mean, we all know it's possible, right? The death sentence into the Dark Passage, force a gank all the way from behind a turret. But it's been a while since we've really seen that in meta. And right now, their ability to do that's massive. BMFX down the second death of the game already here. Thankfully, they're not losing too much CS. But what is frightening is the state of that lane. The wave is going to push out. Dare is going to get frozen on here. And Radiance can continue to camp that bot lane. It doesn't always have to be Bluster. Crimson could start roaming down as well. You can aggressively roam and then use that teleport to get back to your turret that way. You don't have to worry about trying to flank around with the TP. You're just using it to move lanes faster.
Yeah. Another scary thing to think about is now BMFX, right? Normally midway of the lane is considered fairly safe. That is not safe anymore. The only actual safe place that you can start farming under is pretty much only a couple clicks outside of your tower. And now Enigma is going to try and flash away, but I mean, I'm not sure if that was the right call. That is going to be the kill. Pretty much lockdown for the side of Radiance.
Oh no, you're saying it, right? In the pregame, Bluster had an amazing game last game on the Kayn, and his Xin Zhao is looking absolutely on point. Beautiful flash to hop over the knock-up to secure the kill, and it's looking like it's becoming the Bluster show. Where is Limo? Where is his Hecarim? Limo's been power farming as much as possible, but they're still trying to hit that level 6, and for the side of Dare Gaming, they need to wait probably another minute and a half, maybe. I'm not quite sure how close Limo is to that 6, but they need to play passive till then. And then when Limo does hit 6, that's when I want to see them start playing aggressively, look for these kills with the help of the jungler.
Yeah, they need to start looking for it. Oh, no, BMFX
like this.
Walked right in, and thankfully the knock-up this time lands and throws off Lightpulse's hook a little bit. That is going to help out, but look at that Calibrum damage with the Chakrams in tow. able to throw him off a little bit more. Light Pulse and Raheen now. No flash available on Raheen. Light Pulse does, but no Lantern to safety, and they cut off that last chance. Dare fire back with a resounding knock on the door. That will be a kill handed back to BMFX and 1 to Enigma.
That's what we're talking about. Level 6, Limo goes down. They force it. They get the kill. Excellent. Great differential even roaming down to help this. And look at Censored Mercy covering that mid. With this much resources invested, I feel like they have to go for this dragon. It spawned about a minute and a half ago. You've got 5 members down here. You got kills. But they didn't. Instead, they called for a lane swap. BMFX looks like they're hitting top here. They just don't want to have to lane into Raheen and Light Balls.
I'm not sure if this is the right call, considering Censored was actually having an okay time up top. They're going to call it, though, and like you said, we're going to have to wait and see. Of course, BMFX is going to catch a decently sized wave. With the Noon Quiver, though, Raheen will probably be able to force out Censored. Feels Radiants are actually getting the longer end of the stick here.
Potentially. I mean, the lane swap was a good timing where Raheen and Light Balls were already basically at the bot lane. But what this means for Radiance is that you get free dragon. So I need to see them go for this dragon here because that's the big advantage that you're going to get. You know that Dare is going to be making the exact opposite move on the other side where they're going for the Herald instead here. And both your top laners are going to suffer. So it's a matter of who can do it faster and then what you do after that. Do we see Dare try and swap back down to the bot lane, or Radiance, are they going to swap to the top to match? Because at the rate they're going right now, Raheen and Light Pulse already have that additional little bit of damage on this turret, but it's not going to be better than a Herald.
Yeah, I think, and honestly, if you remember who actually got to their objective first, it was Dare that made the call, made the rotate to that Rift Herald. So honestly, that I think is a good one. They are going to go ahead, take first tower at 9 minutes with all the plates up, possibly get a second charge off, and Porsche now going to be kind of stuck in that no man's land. Should have a little bit more space to work with. Bot lane, though. Normally, when you see this happen, normally you see the bot lane tower not being able to be taken as well. Raheen is about to get 4 total plates all to himself. By the way, I do want to point that out. An ADC getting all plates instead of split between 3 is going to have a vastly different outcome than what we saw top.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to see what the gold differential is right now. Thank you so much, producer. Yeah, it's actually really close, 200. So despite all the plate gold that went to Raheen there, BMFX actually got quite a lot of the plate gold as well. Yes, it was shared with Limo, but they also got first break. So close enough in their favor. And I like to see that proactive move come through. The problem now is in that long lane, who's going to sit there? Censored Mercy did okay against CC Porsche before, but with that lane swap, Porsche actually got a bit of a level advantage, a little bit of an item advantage, so is going to be more than happy to play with that long lane. And if you're sending BMFX and Blossoms up there, so far the 2v2 has not gone in their favor, so they need to continue pushing the momentum. If they go back to laning, they might start to fall behind a little bit again.
And yeah, they just call it. That's grabbing them down. And hey, look who else is here. Bluster is ready to go. They're going to actually try and keep following. And it looked like Light Pulse actually wanted to get the jungler in. He was like, hey, let's go. Nope, nope. Bad choice, bad choice. Ate about 50% damage there, but should heal it up right away.
Yeah, it was a great Chomper's placement there from BMFX to stop the engage coming through, and that's why you could see the hesitation from Bluster top side. Censored Mercy taking a beating, and that's without the Mundo out here. TC Porsche, if he can land 1 or 2 more cleavers, might look for the dive.
I think we're not just looking for the dive. I think he's just waiting to... Okay, no. He is going to wait it out just a little bit more. Censored is healing up fairly well. We also saw a deterred counter gank on the bot side. I believe that was both Limo. I think that was actually only Limo, but Bluster was hiding in the sides, so everyone kind of jockeying for position. After that interesting rotate top, it threw everything out of whack. Everyone's just trying to get back on the same side.
Yeah, and like I said, for Radiance, they're okay with the state of things right now, letting everything reset. We saw Dare. Limo was the one down there, but Differential has constantly been shading bot side. They're looking to try and make some sort of play down here and then try and take that turret, but Light Pulse and Raheen have just been soaking pressure like none other here. They've been able to survive so far, only losing that 1 set of deaths to the ganks, but now no wards. They're in the dark. Ghost as well as Hecarim Ultimate Onslaught of Shadows is available to force this.
Very, very dangerous, but I think they're waiting more for someone else to aggress. Very long lane with Raheen and Light Pulse both having flash up. Might not really be worth it to burn it, so that is the call. Limo is going to go ahead and recall. It's like Blossom's mine as well. Quite surprising here. Nope, not as surprising as just, okay, farm it up, we're good to go. Everyone goes ahead and starts out fresh. BMFX, though, very notable. Went for boots first versus the full Gale Force from Raheen.
Yeah, and well, you've got the boots, but you've also got the Kraken Slayer now, right, for BMFX. So it's just a matter of how much gold they had in their pockets.
I did not see that.
Their particular bases there. So yeah, BMFX ready and rearing for a fight, but the back timings, that turret was already so low, and Raheen going to be able to pick this one up. And now Raheen's probably got enough gold for boots as well, but they're looking to push on. They don't have the vision to necessarily guard their back here, so they do have to be careful of a collapse or a flank from there.
Yeah. And this kind of slow play once again, it feels very reminiscent of, I want to say, the round 3 game. Very, very quiet opening, not as many kills, but this one, again, Radiance coming out on top in terms of the macro game play. That zap could have landed on Raheen, but super minion right there. The melee, not, of course, the caster minion, is going to body block that zap. And it's still going to fall out, right? After all of that, after all kind of the jockeying, we do see a 1.1k lead in favor of Radiance. They're going to probably start swapping, I thought, to the mid lane, but apparently they're sending them back top, even though Dragon's coming up.
First of all, Orbital, as a caster minion, none of us are going to be taking that hit for a champion. That's your problem. Of course, the melees. But second of all, mid lane. It's so hard to push mid lane into the likes of a Vel'Koz and a Victor right now. So your side lanes are a better option. Once you take both outers, mid becomes exposed, and then you can look to collapse. But for Dare here, they were perfectly fine with it. They just shove out the bot lane, and because of the rotation, sending Raheen up top to try and take that outer turret, we're seeing a repeat of what happened 5 minutes ago, except that this time the Herald timer is desync. So Dare get a free dragon. It will be answered by a turret here, but it's not completely even. And then what I'm expecting to see is when that Herald spawns, maybe both teams start to look for that particular fight, and maybe then we actually get to see a proper team fight start to break out.
And considering these teams haven't stat checked, I love posing this question. Never mind. All right. I spoke too soon because right now Bluster is able to sneak into the bush a little bit too quickly, and Censor did not enjoy it. Very nice swap back, though, as that Rakan is going to get a taunt onto 3. Ultimates go flying right back out, and that is the burst of fire cutting through the HP bars. Dare is going to watch her HP bars bleed, and unfortunately Censored is directly on top of a pink ward. Raheen will easily pick that one up. 2 dead off of what looked like a little bit of a shocked river engage.
Yeah, you could tell Dare unfortunately walked right into that. It's not done yet. BMFX.
Yeah, that was a great route. Light Pulse, though, is going to eat most of it. Tower finally goes down, and Bluster says, cool, now I got backup. They take the tower, they clean it up, and make it now 4-0.
Okay, there, Orbital. I mean, we called for a team fight. We kind of got it. It wasn't really the stat check 5v5 we were hoping for there. The only stat we really checked was movement speed, and unfortunately, Radiance had higher movement speed. So they got more people to the fight quicker. It was around the Herald there, and great win for them. Raheen should be fine. Limo.
Yeah, oh, no. Limo went in, and just a few more auto attacks. Raheen is allowed 4, 1, and 3. Now going to be backing with a little more than I want to say a 1.5k. He got quite a bit there.
Yeah, things are looking a little dire for
oh my gosh, I was about to say 2k. I thought that was too high. 2.06. Oh my lord.
You know, 2k is close enough, man. Like that is a pretty big gap. I don't think they've gone back to spend it quite yet here, but they will after picking up this Herald. And that's when we're going to start running into major issues. Because previously, we were saying, okay, we need a stat check because we're not sure who's in the lead. Right now, we know who's in the lead, and it's Radiance. And their comps operate fairly similarly in that it is going to come off largely the back of their AD carries. If Raheen can shred through the front line of Dare fast enough, and it's looking like it because only Censored Mercy's pseudo-tanky, and with a Gore Drinker, that's not the resistances that you really need to survive in Aphelios, then Radiance can just front to back you, and if the Gravitum lands like it did in the last fight with that Moonlight Vigil, none of you are even going to be able to escape.
We do have a little bit of a pause here, and going to be right back underway. Thank you very much. Of course, the little pause gave us a little bit of a breather. Got a bit more information, especially after what you were talking about there. A little bit of a stat check, a little bit of a tap on the back of the head, but of course, Radiant's saying we'll take it home. Now at about 17 minutes, with the mythics now being completed, it's a question of where do they want to aggress next. Bluster does have that Herald in tow. Options are fairly open here, but mid lane is probably the call, especially with bounties now available for the side of Dare to take home.
Yeah, especially if we do see Crimson not in the mid lane, then mid lane is definitely takeable here. But for Dare to come back into this one, my eyes are on Limo, because it happened last game as well. Dare fell behind in the early mid game, and it was Limo finding some beautiful catches onto the AD carries. Limo right now, in a 1v1, can still handle Raheen. The issue in that last fight, not a 1v1, and any sort of CC is sufficient for Raheen to be able to burst down Limo. So it's a question of, can you find the isolated Raheen? And Radiance for now not even giving you that chance. They're just 5-manning this with Herald.
I think that's the proper response. Maybe taking notes from that round 3, right? The reason that the ADC and mid were caught out so much, what gave the win kind of over, was that potential to split. And look at that hook and a half. But now they're going to charge right back. That is going to be a huge laser going across the board. It looks like that even though the tower did not fall, they pick up 2. A massive win for the side of Dare. Yes, you lose the tower, you lose a large chunk in the mid lane, but you get 2 priority kills on 2 priority members.
Yeah, I think there was a bounty on Raheen on that particular death as well, so definitely worth it. And you can see, the moment Raheen goes down, Radiant just has to back out and disengage, right? A lot of their strength right now is focused on this now 4-2-3 AD carry here. And I was looking for Limo to get the engages, but Censored Mercy did just as well, if not better. The problem, as you rightly pointed out, is it cost them a turret and a half. And how many turrets do you have that you can, keep trading that sort of damage to come through? And your cooldowns as well. 20 seconds time, that dragon's back up. Censored Mercy doesn't have the showstopper. Limo doesn't have the onslaught of shadows. In fact, nobody on the side of Dare Gaming has the ultimates to even try and contest this objective.
Yeah, too difficult, and especially because it's a mountain. The ones that'll be benefiting, I think, the most from that would be looking like Porsche and Bluster on the side of Radiant. So looks like Dare are okay giving this one up. Remember last time they did win? Giving up the entirety of the soul, all 4 dragons. However, Censored this time decides to walk into the bush and takes quite a bit of damage. But again, that's just a greeting from Crimson, and Light Pulse as a red buff will be stolen away.
That was a lot committed for what effectively became a zoning engage there. We blew the box as well as the Chaos Storm. And, we were just touching on the fact that Dare didn't have their ultimates up for the last fight. This time, the shoe's on the other foot, and Radiance is missing some of their big teamfight ultimates. Moonlight Vigil should be coming up shortly, but if you're Dare, you've got a window right now to try and make this play.
A bit of a chance, but you got to wait for your big damage dealers. VMFX and Blossom still running in from the base. Limo really wants that chance, and if they can find it, would be a 4-on-5, but Porsche in that mid lane is still pushed away like any Mundo would, so Dare are currently split between the two. Censored now going to go ahead and shove that one off, so losing a bit more damage as time goes on.
And Dare's just getting pulled apart right now. Differential.
Oh, one more shuriken. Oh, you can see it. Enigma very, very low on HP. That is a single shuriken away from death. Now they're going to force the fight, though. This is a little bit of a rough call. Limo goes all the way in, but does get the damage down. What more can they find, though? All 5 members are here, and Raheen lived. Raheen lived, and Radiant call the fight. The laser goes out, is going to burn down quite a few, but now they have to run Enigma coming back with full HP, is now down to 50. And Crimson wants some. Crimson flashes. Crimson gets knocked up, but the tower falls. That's all they want. Bluster going to try and chase in, but the slow is enough. Bloody brawl in the bot side. Nets Radiance quite a few kills in the tower.
Every shockwave that Differential that Enigma missed last game, you know what? It was all warm up for this. Differential just barely surviving, kiting around everything there to be able to save that turret. And that is actually significant. If Enigma had fallen, the base for Dare gets cracked. As it stands right now, they lost the mid and bot lane inner turrets. They're down 6,000 gold. They've lost all control over the bottom side of the map. as dragons continue spawning 2.5 minutes there, Dare is going to really struggle to even walk up to contest that. But if the base had been broken open, Radiance can then take the inhibitor, let the supers push in, and then go for Baron. So Dare is still in it by the skin of their teeth. But they're really struggling to find the engage. You saw what happened to Limo there. That was a good engage, and if Limo wasn't so far behind, it would have worked. But that's what I'm talking about, the easy CC, right? Any sort of CC gets in there, Hecarim gets locked down, Aphelios will just rip him to shreds, and the next thing you know, you don't have another way to threaten Rahina at all.
Yeah. It's also something to kind of think about, right? In the previous game, that would have worked, right? You had usually the Stand United behind it, the ball on you as well. This is much more selective. Limo is not only being cut off in terms of item disparity, but also in terms of backup from the team, right? This is a do or die scenario for the Hecarim that was not I want to say present in the prior game. So watching him have to circumvent that to even try and pull off that fight is something to be said, right? Like you said, by the skin of their teeth, by the skin of their champions, they are having to kind of force their way through here. And especially with the Baron coming up and a majority of Radiant saying, hey, we want to go for it, this could potentially lead to a dangerous fight scenario.
Yeah, and if we toggle the vision right now, Dare can't see anything around that Baron. They have to go in blind, whereas Radiance, on the other hand, they can start it up anytime they want to here. Censored Mercy, the only one with an active blue trinket, but there's a range on that, and if you're bot lane, you can't drop that on Baron. You have no clue what Radiance is doing.
Yeah, they just can't, right? And I definitely think that Radiance understand that. They're going to go ahead, slowly walk through, and with a majority share in that top side, they don't even care. Raheen now with Gravitum and Flame Spitter out. This is going to be a little bit interesting, especially because that's a huge gun combination to have if a fight breaks out as well. So I think Dare are going to say, hey, look, we can't do too much. Blossoms, though, decides to walk in. Rocket goes out, is dodge out. That's a dash and a big gets it. He got it, Limo. Limo went for the steal. He got the bounty and more. All right, Dare take the dare and are paid off.
It feels like you can never count this team out. It looked like they were slowly being strangled out of the game there. But Limo rushing in solo, dancing around the box as well, making sure it didn't get tagged, didn't get slowed. Yes, Limo died, but like you pointed out, 500 bounty gold spread across the team. And more importantly, with that Baron buff, you can get more. Mid lane outer turrets on a hope and a prayer. Bot lane outer turret, hey, that's viable, that's weak, that's killable as well. Sure, you lose the dragon, but it's fine. It ain't soul just yet.
It is not, and it does go down, but it feels so bad. The loss of the Baron, that would have given Radiant so much opportunity to pressure in, right? Would have been their ticket to break open a few of those inhibitors, would have done so much. And now they're facing down even more bounties, right? Remember, not only did they get the bounty on the Baron, they have a bounty on most of the towers. Any of these towers that fall, that 4K difference can easily dwindle down to maybe a 2K to 2.5K difference very, very quickly. So it is going to be on Radiance figuring out what to do next. Censored, of course, clearing out that top side, who has been trying to farm up, does have the Mythic plus a couple components. So that set might be able to join in here shortly.
Well, for Radiance here, their initial game plan still works. They've actually played this very, very well. They took the lead that they got in the bot lane, and they've been playing to it here. That much hasn't changed. Even if gold is equal, they continue to do the exact same thing. TC Porsche can continue split pushing into the set. Your Aphelios has enough guarding with that, or enough disengage, pardon me, with that Xin Sao, and with that Victor will buy enough time for the TP to come through. So Radiance just kind of need to do a mental reset. They did not lose at Baron. They lost Baron itself, but all the setup is repeatable. And for Dare is still going to struggle right now into that full 5v5. They've got themselves soul point. So in 3.5 minutes time, Baron and Dragon will both be coming up. And Dare have to gamble. You can do that to Baron, but trying to steal away a Dragon's a lot harder. It's a lot squishier and it burns down a lot quicker.
Right now, though, that's still 3 minutes off. You don't have to worry about that too much. And with top lane possibly bouncing in favor of Dare, this bot lane is going to be the most favored opportunity. All the bounty gold going into the pocket. That was just kind of freestanding gold. We'll give it to them. So that is going to be closing in. Not enough, though. Still about, like I said, about 2.5 now difference between the two teams. So You're gonna try and manage Raheen, though, trying to farm up as quickly as possible. One of the stronger members at 3 full items.
Now, Orbital, since the gold difference between the two teams have dwindled to about 2,000, ignore the kills right now. The Dragons help some, but they're not going to be the deciding factor, most likely. It feels like it's time for a stat check again, because Dare Gaming hasn't won a team fight in, I'd say, you know, the last 10, 15 minutes here for themselves. So the question is, can they match Radiant? I'm not asking them to win against Radiant in a full-on 5v5 just yet, but can they match them? Is BMFX really at the point where they can start contributing to the fight? They are at that 3-item power spike, Phantom Dancer, Kraken Slayer, Lord Dominic. So if you can cut through Porsche, if you can force Bluster away, then I think Dare is at the point where they can start looking to go even, to look for these fights around objectives.
Yeah. I mean, they look like it for right now. The problem is there were no objectives, so it looks like Porsche is just enjoying the free farm up top, who we haven't really talked about. It has slowly been farming up a massive storm, 2.5 items, very, very tanky, and no real health cut, no grievous wounds on the other side, right? So as you were saying, Porsche is the one to beat. That is the raid boss currently in this game, and the only person that really could do anything is BMFX, like you were talking about, level 13 as well. And the stat check, I gotta ask, considering Baron and Dragon are both coming up, of course, Soul is the main priority. Is that going to be the stat check area? Is that gonna be where we see this giant collapse of everything that's been building for the last 15 minutes?
100%, one or the other here. And for Dare, I suspect that Dragon might not be something they can stat check, depending on how things go. So far, we've not actually seen Dare and Radiance really face off around objectives. It always has been Dare getting caught out just before. And with Dragon, it's a lot riskier. Like we said, Radiance burns it down so quickly, so it's kind of difficult. Radiance, though, do have to be careful that when they go for that Dragon, they don't leave Baron unmarked. Because BMFX does have the Kraken Slayer and Lord Dominic's regard, they can actually burn down Baron fairly quickly here with just autos coming through. So they need to make sure that they leave at least one person who can respond and delay that Baron take, or hell, maybe even send Bluster over there to attempt the steal if you're going to commit everybody else to that bot side.
Where everyone decides to go is going to be the question, and Limo, of course, burning a little bit of damage down onto Porsche just to try and force him out of the jungle. Again, the battle for vision is going to be a priority. Remember, around Baron, there was none. Around Dragon, they at least want some. They don't want to walk in blind to this massive set, but that's going to be the draw in. Mercy is on the top side. He's going to draw the ultimate. He's going to slam him down, and a huge crunch. Huge crunch catches everyone. Haymaker doesn't work, but look at the health bars bleeding back. They weren't able to kill off Raheen, and down goes the Hecarim. Look at the health bars bleeding low and lower. BMFX trying to fire back, but it's not going to be enough. Chakram lands on Enigma, but BMFX says he's not dead yet.
Oh my goodness!
Into the fight. It's an ADC battle, and the stopwatch is almost going to be enough. No, triple kill. It did so much work, but Raheen is barely able to survive. Enigma, last one standing. It was bloody. The stat check was real, and the Dragon can't be stolen away. So it is Radiance that come out with more on their side of the field.
That's going to hurt Dare twice as hard here, Orbital, because not only did they actually pass the stat check, they did have enough damage to cut through TC Porsche without heal cut, but Radiance getting that Dragon, that's Soul. So now the stat check is, well, outdated because they have shields. They have more resistances coming through from them. And as much as I praise Raheen surviving there in that particular fight and being able to turn the tides, because if they had found Raheen, fight's over. The other thing to note was that Blossoms was a little bit slow into the engage. BMFX couldn't step up, so the initial bit of damage was just all Radiance firing all the damage down, and we didn't actually see BMFX in the beginning of that fight. If BMFX had been safe enough to pump out the damage, that could very well have turned Dare's way.
Yeah. And keep in mind, that was also BMFX without the Infinity Edge, right? Taking a look, should be built up here shortly. That damage that we saw spike at the end is going to get even more outrageous, and very, very excited. So stat check number 3 will be coming to us shortly here as Baron is going to be cleared out of wards. And now, most excitedly, 3 items here on this Victor. I believe that's Shadow Flame and Crown builds up. And then for Enigma, didn't have it last time. Now does that laser, maybe cutting through a lot more. Rabadon's Death Cap.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for Crimson right now, his job has been quite defensive, actually, throughout these fights, which is why he's got slightly lower KP. He's not the one we've been watching in terms of, the excitement, but he certainly will be the thing protecting Raheen with that Chaos Storm. And especially now, Radiance has started us up. TP coming in from Censored Mercy.
Yeah, and he did this last time, right? This was the pull, and another slam down, gets 3. Rocket goes down, doesn't do as much damage as you want, but that's enough. That's enough, and that goes in Blossom. That's going to be support. What more can you get? Straight into the backline, goes the horse, zones them all away, and the tanks are down. Limo, last one alive in the front line, same with Bluster, but the Rockets are a bit stronger. The Baron, though, spits upon Limo, and is going to force it into only the mids and ADCs alive.
And that's exactly what I was talking about right there, Orbital. The fact that BMFX got to the fight, got to start the fight earlier. The damage from the Jinx joined the rest of the team immediately. And it's dead even. 3 for 3 here. Crimson, once again, not quite able to pump out the damage they need to. And that is a range issue. Anytime Crimson steps up, the rockets start to rain down. And unfortunately for the Victor there, you can kill Censored Mercy. You can kill Limo maybe, but they're not the big threats you need to take out Differential and BMFX. These super long-range targets are the problem, and this is why I was saying, Radiance, you have to keep walking into this. It's not working for you, and now we're starting to see the heal cut come through. TC Porsche is going to start melting faster and faster.
Yep. Not going to be a fun time for the Mundo that is well known as always having it his own way, as going where he pleases. And I have to also give credit to Blossoms, right? This Rakan has done a decent amount of work to help disrupt enemy lines, even at the cost of his own life. So, gonna have to watch and see 1 or 2 more times is gonna be necessary. And we're getting to that point, RMC. We're getting to that late game, 33.5 minutes. We know what Zare like to do at this point. We know how they won in their round 3 match. It was about grouping up. It was about team fighting appropriately. And we can see that again here. Radiance have to be aware of that.
Are they going for this? No, they're trying to set up an ambush here. And hey, there's only one Farsight trinket on the side of Radiant, so this is definitely doable. I love the way they're starting to set up to deny vision, but the pink ward in the Baron pit is actually a little bit too far front. And there is a yellow trinket at the back of that pit, which they don't see. So they think it's safe. It's not right here, but Radiance caught a little bit of their pants down. We're not in position to answer anyways.
Yeah, and the TB is actually going all the way towards mid lane, so it's not far enough. They're coming in on the back end. This is going to be an attempt to steal, and it's not going to happen. That's just absolute madness as dare to do the impossible and sneak a Baron out directly in front of Radiance.
We touched on the fact that Radiance had to make sure that Baron was warded because Derek can burn it down. And they did that part, but they didn't actually have somebody to stop it. And now, for the first time this game, Radiance is on the back foot. Dare have shown once again the strong mental, their resilience down in the early game, trying to bounce back. Now, the issue with Dare's composition is going to be engage, trying to play it aggressively. They've done a great job, playing backwards here or, aggressing in tight corners. Mercy?
Yeah, Mercy has to flash away from the stasis field, and unfortunately that still means his death. Raheen shredding through the boxer himself, and that's going to leave it into an awkward scenario. Yes, you have Baron on your side, but a 5v4 is not a fight that I think Dare will want to take.
Yeah, and Overall, that's exactly what I was worried about when trying to play forward, was trying to find a good path into the back line. And Censored Mercy was looking for the flank, which they've managed to get time and time again while playing defensively, and that's really been carrying them a lot of the fights. But that time, that flank didn't quite work, and I think you're better off in that way going for TC Porsche, using that as the engage. Now engage onto said TC Porsche.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead, fire away, and they might have gotten the catch. That's a huge burst of damage. Crimson is down. They go ahead and fire through. Bluster is going to try and ramp it up, but can't. The Crescent Guard is only going to do so much, and now look who's putting away the damage. Huge rockets to the face, and BMFX is alive. He is going to run them all down. Porsche, you can't hide away from the rockets. BMFX takes the ace home, and I think, RMC, that will be the game.
They still have Baron buff right now on these minions. Another 30 seconds before Radiance starts to come up. And with this Jinx, they could very well end it right here. They are pushing. Who's going to come up? Light Pulse? Bluster? They can't stop these guys.
And once again, Dare's team fighting is too OP. They don't care about the early game. They don't care about the mid game. They don't care about Soul. They say we will take you in a mechanical fight and win in the most outrageous scenarios I think I have ever seen. Even my camera can't handle it right now. Dare are going to qualify, and they will go ahead and move on to the round of 16 here in the Proving Grounds Open Qualifier.
They can't keep getting away with this. Like, BMFX just keeps getting jinxed, and it doesn't matter what happens in the mid game. BMFX just pops off. I don't know if the damage charts are showing on stream, but BMFX did 37,000 damage. In comparison, Raheen, 26,000. That's almost a full 11,000 more. And differential doing about 24k on this Vel'Koz as well. Yes, Dare keeps losing the early game. I'm going to flat out say it. They are not winning the early game. Last game, round 3, they lost because of macro in the early. This game, BMFX and Blossoms got smashed. But it doesn't matter when they've got the jinx. It scales back up every single time. And Dare just will not break under pressure.
Yeah, they go ahead and secure their spot. Most notably, though, Radiants are now going to have to play in the round 5. They still have one more chance to make it. Make no mistake, this could be a rematch later on, which will be very, very interesting to watch, right? But still, Dare make the impossible. I don't want to say impossible. An improbable scenario, I will say. They go ahead and clear that bar. They go ahead and push forward, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Of course, we will have to go to a short break to get ready for the next round, the final round of the evening. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the final round here, where the points do not matter. No, I'm kidding. Points do matter here, but it is amazing to talk about this because Dare have qualified. It is a fantastic time for all you Dare fans out there. Congratulations to the squad for making it in. Again, I am throwing out confetti on my camera right now for you. As you can tell, it's amazing. But again, taking down Radiance, that is I want to say two upper-seeded teams being taken down by Dare. A phenomenal display here on day number 2 of the Open Qualifiers.
Upper seed team. Orbital, let's put this in context. Radiance was 7th seed. They were single digits. Being top 8 seeds means that you are expected to make it to playoffs, not just group stages here. And Dare took them out. And what a way to take them out as well, right? Like going clutch, going all the way to the end, and then just pulling it out in one last big team fight. But going into game 5, while they have already qualified, they're up into potentially their hardest opponents yet. Because if this is Dare's playstyle, if they're going to go to the late game, they're running into the masters of the late game. Their opponents for game 5, Zeus 3.0. Oh, sorry, Wildcard Gaming. But realistically, Zeus 3.0 here. And Alorim, Griffin, Rhino, these guys, I remember in 2021, spring 2021, late 2020, Zeus was a team that brought every game to the late and beat you with team fighting. Now, they don't have the same mid, they don't have the same AD carry, but look at who they do have. Strumpest, best team fighting mid at 2021 Scouting Grounds. That's not a problem. That easily replaces Tuesday there. And in the AD carry position, Winw. Winw, a little bit more risky than Raheen, but if they survived with Raheen's insane dives, like what he was doing in 2020, they can work around Winw.
Yeah, there's opportunities, right? There's so much to go over here, and I mean, it's I have to say it's going to be interesting as well, considering both these teams have qualified. I'm curious how their mentals are. There are some, but I mean, you got to go for the win, right? You want to be one of those teams that ends up 4-1. You want that higher seed moving into the group stage. You want to have that chance to be seeded into a fairly easier time, so that'll be really fun to see. And of course, we got to talk about the fact that if Dare win, if Dare win this one, I just want to point out that they will have beaten the 3rd seed as well. So that is immensely insane to think of. Like, I'm sorry, a 20th seeded team. Even though, again, this is early stages, this is teams playing it out here in the Swiss bracket. I get it, right? Some people can say seeding doesn't matter as much. It's still a 3rd seed team. I am so excited to see. Of course, very, very excited to see. And the Vel'Koz, of course, threw me for a little bit of a loop. Hopefully, we will be getting underway here shortly with the draft. Very, very excited to see what Wildcard Gaming and Dare have in store for us. Of course, though, other thing to talk about. I have too many things to talk about. I'll shut up now. Dare now on red side for this game.
Yes, and I was just going to say that, over. I'm sorry to rain on your parade, but while Dare have 100% win rate on the blue side, the opposite is true on the red side. They have a 0% win rate on the red side. And coming into this game 5, they are going to be on red. That does mean that they might have to be the ones to, well, ban out the Jinx here. While Dare hasn't really banned out the Caitlyn, and they're happy to trade Caitlyn for Jinx, Winw could just pick up that Jinx on the side of Wildcard Gaming, deny it right away from Dare. In return for that, though, they do get counterpick. And so far, you know, Censored Mercy, Enigma, when they've had the counters, they've done decently. But they haven't really taken over their lanes. And I feel like you kind of need to do that. Because if you're just going to go for a late game, you know, with that counterpick there, like I said, some of these guys from Zeus Gaming, they've been doing it a lot longer.
Yeah, I give that credit. And again, this is another team that, even though you say is just, you know, the late game monsters as well, we have to talk about the down a little bit of a rough shot for Dare Gaming as well. Their early to mid game is still looking rough over and over again. It just feels bad. So far, this is twice now that Dare have actually given up 4 dragons, the soul, and everything up and above, right? And even Barons, right? Point given, Limo, fantastic, amazing jungler that has so far shown so many amazing highlights. Basically kept Dare in the game by sacrificing himself, running straight, I want to say, from blue buff on blue side into pit to steal Baron. Although it's fantastic to watch, it shouldn't be the norm for that to be kind of their go-to action.
Yeah, and to a large extent, Limo had to sack himself because he sacked the lanes in the early game. No ganks before level 6 in both the games today, round 3 and round 4 here. So ideally, we'd like to see Limo start making some earlier moves. Yes, I understand you're the Hecarim, you really want to unlock that ultimate, but sometimes throwing an early gank or two might help, especially in this particular game when we do see BMFX and Blossoms running up into Winw and Rhino. Because Winw is an early game player. He likes to coin flip that lane early. And if they coin flip heads, they can take over a game right away. And for Rhino, well, Rhino's used to playing with aggressive laning AD carries. Think back to who they just played. Radiance, who was their AD carry? Raheen. Who is Raheen? Zeus 2.0. Well, Zeus 1.0 and 2.0, right? Played with Pocket Rhino for the longest time here. So you can expect the bot lane to be somewhat similar here. I want to see that awareness from BMFX, from Blossoms here. Don't go for those early fights in this year. Very, very, very confident you can win them because, yeah, that's their bread and butter.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. We've seen parties in the bot lane so far. And again, this last game was one of the rougher ones for the side of Dare Gaming. They got tower dove, I think, twice. I want to say once or twice. It was a little force gang through the lane, and then it was a tower dive underneath, and very, very rough. In this one as well, though, I am a little bit worried about the top lane as well. Top lane, again, as we were saying, the Porsche mashup was going okay in terms of Dare with the set. However, I did take a look at Wildcard's win as well. We saw a little bit of interesting tech. It was a Sejuani top, which I have not seen, I think, since, 2020 or 2021. It was out there. It was random. I'm curious to see how Dare Gaming deal with kind of these alternate picks that are starting to grace the Rift.
That pick is an Alorum special, and Alorum's played it multiple times now throughout Proving Grounds back in 2021 as well. It is his answer towards tankier champions. You know, if you pick a set, if you pick a Mundo, Alorum will happily run the Sejuani into it. So definitely is something that Censored Mercy might have to keep in the back of their mind. But honestly, Censored Mercy has been probably the player I've been least worried about throughout today. I think they've done a stand-up job constantly having to blind pick their champion here. And considering how the team likes to play, I wouldn't be surprised if they're once again blind pick for Censored Mercy here. But even if you want to do that, maybe not the set, maybe not the Tom Kench or Mundo sort of champion, because that is exactly what Sejuani is designed to counter.
You don't want to give that opportunity over to Alorum of all players. And then if they do decide to do that, if they do decide to blind top, now moving into the mid lane, right? Enigma has been an enigma, right? That's the best way we can put it here. Has had some amazing moments, and in that game too, looked fantastic as well. But remember, we were talking about it before, I think in post game of game 2 of today, the Vel'Koz was banned away specifically against him before. It has been banned away. It is a known big pick. If you do not have that, if you put back on things like the Orianna and the Victor and such, do you think that's going to be enough, or where does that spicy counter pick come?
Yeah, I mean, that is a very good question in terms of what Enigma can pull off here. The Vel'Koz is not something you pick blind. It has good matchups. It also has really bad matchups. And unfortunately, it's into Strumpist. Strumpist, a lot of his old champion pool would have been countered by the Vel'Koz with that range. You know, things like Cassiopeia, things like Rise, who have to run into you, who are fairly short range. But he's really leveled up over this last little while, and, you know, expanded his champion pool into things that can deal with that Vel'Koz fairly comfortably. So definitely have to see what it is exactly that Strumpist picks up, and then maybe we can talk about that R5 counter pick. And if you can't find a counter pick, hell, you can pick something that works with the rest of your composition instead.
And as we do talk about those champions, we will see what champions will grace the Rift for our final game of the evening. It will go ahead, and we do see Wildcard. This time, it is updated. We're very, very happy about that. Yay! Wildcard on the blue side, Dare on the red. And I'm pretty sure my producer is going to kick me out of the broadcast studio here in just a minute. But I like Wildcard, of course, saying, hey, there has been one consistent the entirety of the time. No Hecarim for game number 3.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway here. You want to put Limo on something less comfortable, because as you rightly pointed out, Limo's Hecarim, even when it doesn't have the most impact in the early game, has been able to affect a lot of the map. And what is this I see hovered by Dare Gaming here? Could it be the Caitlyn? If that Caitlyn does get locked in here, to me, that's a respect ban against Winw, saying that, okay, we know Winw's great in the early game, we know Winw plays Caitlyn, and we are going to actually respect and say, hey, this is not something we can afford to give over and try and counter with our Jinx.
Yeah. And taking a look as well, the respect ban from game number 2, the Thresh banned away round 1. Last time it was banned away round 2, I believe, back in their third game of the Swiss and first game of the day. Trying to hop back and forth. Excuse me if I did mix that up a little bit, but the Thresh was one of the reasons that they had such a difficult time in the early game. So understanding that, now Wildcard, though, going for the tried and true jungler here, J4, going to be gracing the Rift in the blind pick jungle.
Yeah, and I think partially the Thresh as well, a bit of a pick that Rhino has shown a lot of proficiency on as well. You don't want to give something that Rhino can be such a big playmaker on. And answering that J4 here, Dare, what jungler does Limo have 1 second off the table? Well, apparently it's the Viego that they're looking to pick up here. They're hovering the set. And remember I said, I don't really want to see the set too early on here. I feel like it's tipping your hand to a player like Alorum, very experienced, but maybe they're picking it here because they still think, okay, we can flex it down to Blossoms in that bot lane. Support set is still a thing.
Yeah, but this by far is one of the more aggressive mid lane pickups that we've seen. So to put it in perspective, I think most of the blind pick mids that we've seen so far has been that Victor. It's been a generic kind of style, as we were talking about. It's been gracing ever since the postseason of 2021. Now they do it again, and the Vex. Oh my lord. Okay, so I was worried about the LeBlanc because it was going to punish the early game. It was Wildcard saying, we know what Dare can't do. Well, Dare say, hey, we were ready for it. We're ready. Let's go. Vex coming out here. That's going to It's Only Vex. Telling you now.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, maybe. I don't know how I feel about that.
Close to me. But it's a Vex.
I mean, well, mostly I don't know how to feel about that because the only Vex isn't in this game.
No,
that was been
well,
but
I'm a little slow. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm gone.
Still thinking back to that round 3 orbital. You know, fair enough though. I'm looking at this, and honestly, this series of picks has me surprised. I was thinking J4 LeBlanc, that's a good combo, but I was actually thinking of Vex for Strumpus, because Strumpus was practicing a lot of Vex, and it is something that can deal with the Vel'Koz. Instead, by picking that LeBlanc early here, that's a hard counter pick, and I want to see Enigma be able to pop off with the Vex here. It's not good enough to just go even. You've got to get ahead. You've got to start showing your skill here. And hey, if you can beat Strumpus, you just beat the best team fighting mid at Scouting Grounds 2021. The rest of the bans are coming through, though, and it is the support and top still to be picked up from Wildcard here. AD carry and top or support as well for the side of Dare. Not quite sure which, and they instantly lock in that Jhin for some early lane control.
Yeah, although I understand that the set is supposed to be that flex, I'm not sure if it's going to be enjoyable in the bot side. Still very curious about that. But the Urgot lane matchup is a little bit worse as well. I like it, saying, hey, we'll cover all our bases, and the Galio locked in the end. So Dare have been thrown the gauntlet. This set is going to be in a rough spot either way.
Yeah, and I'm worried for Dare, because we spoke about the fact that their bot lane, BMFX blossoms, as amazing as BMFX has been carrying the later game, laning has been a little bit rough here. And now, okay, Soraka as an answer, I like it. It does quite well into the Galio support, which we're going to see here. It's a solid pickup, and the set into Urgot, it's not the worst matchup for a set, but it is rough, because it's ranged into melee. And even worse is that this is a Lorem's Urgot. It's his specialty champion, his most played champion here as well. So Wildcard really looking like, you know, they're going for a composition which kind of says, we are better. We're going to try and flex ourselves mechanically in the lanes across the board. And enabled by something like the Jarvan for Griffin, that is a very real possibility.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting to watch this game unfold. It kind of feels like both teams had almost a mutual agreement to almost say, hey, listen, last game of the Swiss, let's go all out. Let's have some fun with some kind of crazy champions, and let's see what happens, right? Because like you said, the Urgot in the top side, this set kind of blind pick, giving that kind of dance up on the top lane, and then in the jungle, right? Again, going from such a high speedy jungler for Limo into this almost slower tempo style of the Viego, where you're not really going to have that ability to access so many routes. It's more, hey, the Viego's going in. I want to ask you, is this change of pace going to be a little bit too much of a shock, or do you think Dare can still make it work with the composition that they built?
On one hand, I feel like, yes, the Viego not being able to engage, not being that first one in is a big change. But on the other hand, it's also another champion that waits till level 6 and presses R. So, you know, like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see it working for Limo still, right? Like, execute. And the composition from there is not bad. I quite like it. You get pretty good poke with the Jhin to come through as well, unless we see the J4 building straight tank. Wildcard don't actually have a true tank to tank those things up. 4 shots come through, you start getting the executes rolling, and Vex can pop a lot of damage. A deadly combo that a lot of people kind of miss a lot of times is Vex diving the backline, proccing the Fear. It does a lot of damage, and the Fear as well lets Vex sometimes get away. You combine that with the Viego who can get executes and resets in the middle of those fights, and more often than not, I think if we see Limo and Enigma going in together, they will both actually be able to get out.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is as well, that last pick coming in here for Dare is going to keep them alive, even if they do get caught, right? A Wish coming down from a Soraka, especially with some of the changes that we've seen, can be that make or break point, and I'm very curious to watch that happen because of the fact that it's such long range, right? You're taking a look at the Jhin, you're taking a look at the Soraka, this is a lane matchup. You're not going to really want to touch Aphelios and Galio. There is a time and place for everything, and I want your thoughts on it, right? This is the safest bot lane I think we've seen this team take so far for Dare.
I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I don't think you should be wanting to go in and touch them with a Jhin and Soraka, but I have said the same to Jinx Rakan last game, and they went in it, or they got engaged on anyway. So I'm actually really scared for Blossom. It's one of the reasons why I didn't touch on the Soraka is because I'm scared for the Soraka right now. The Soraka doesn't have a lot of escapes, and I'm looking at a J4, a LeBlanc, a Galio. Yep. There's a lot of ways to get in there and to punish the Soraka. Granted, Soraka into Galio as a matchup is actually favorable to the Soraka. You've got a lot of tools. When you see the wind up the charge from Galio, you can actually cancel. Same with the taunt by using the Soraka E. You know, the Qs slow them down as well. It is a bit hard to engage, but that's only in lane. Outside of lane, as much as I said that Wildcard feels like they're flexing their mechanical muscles, Dare feels like they're kind of doing the same a little bit. A bit of a higher risk composition here. Kind of squishy, kind of low health. a lot of their bottom half of the map relies on just not getting caught. And then later on, you'll have set to front line for you, but Wildcard have an opportunity early with the mobility they have to just constantly punish this bot side. And while Vex counters LeBlanc, if LeBlanc gets a hit from the bot side, enough kills will cancel out any sort of counter matchup.
And to bring into that, right, you're talking about the kills coming out from the LeBlanc. If the bot lane plays safe enough, that shouldn't happen. And all of a sudden, we're right back to that mid to late game stalemate. Even though we're talking about Wildcard being a very proficient late game team fighting team, the LeBlanc signals early to mid. A lot of these champions feel like lane bullies. Do you think against Dare that Wildcard have the components to face off against another late game team fighting squad?
They do. I think the Aphelios is their late game insurance here. And while LeBlanc isn't exactly a late game champion, Strompus navigates her very, very well, especially as the map tends to open up here. So Wildcard have tools. But if we're talking about scaling here, I still think their scaling is slightly better. Even though Aphelios outscales Jhin, one of the reasons why we see Jhin picked into Aphelios a lot is that you can outrange the Aphelios with a lot of your skills. You know, the bouncing grenade can outrange depending on how it bounces. Deadly Flourish outranges. Curtain Call can also almost kill the Aphelios outright if you can land all 4 shots. Again, a lot to do with range. So while I do think Wildcard has the components to do so, I do think their threshold to execute is also higher with their composition. Dare has a lot of answers, have a lot of ways to deal with it. And for a game 5 in which, you know, both teams have qualified, Orbital, I can't think of a better way to do it. They both pick compositions which require a lot of execution, and we get to see individual player skill shining through.
Yeah. Okay. Let's be honest here, though. In a game 5 where nothing really matters, what is the silliest thing you can think that can occur? Because one of my old favorites, I have to say, and I'm getting a little bit off course, but I love it because of the champions and the current stipulations. If we're talking about flexing muscles, have you heard of a game called Gladiators that people have played in League of Legends?
No, I've watched the movie Gladiators, but I've not heard of the game Gladiators.
It made the rounds, I want to say, almost all the way back in 2017 or 2018 or whenever. It was by far the most trolliest thing, but I love it so much. It's basically every player on the team, they go into a game. It's obviously custom, right? You go in, you power farm for 20 minutes, no attacking the opponent, nothing of the sort. You power farm, get as many items as you can, and then everyone runs to mid lane, picks their lineup, and basically 1v1 duels until one team is completely wiped out. It is... It was one of the funnier things that I heard about, but I mean, it's like the true testament of skill, right? Like, maybe I'm alone on this. I swear it was a thing in the past. Your eyes say no, and I'm very, very scared that I'm talking just out my butt right now.
No. I'm just thinking, is that one of the mini games in what's that game mode? The one they did, Nexus Blitz. It's the dual game mode, isn't it?
I think it
Yeah,
was.
basically a Gladiator. And hey, it could very well devolve into that. I fully expect that to be kind of what the laning phase is for the most part here. The junglers will come in and interfere. But you know what? I don't think Limo's going to show up till 6. So it's really on Griffin, who's playing under the name Xian Bao Wei, it looks like here. But that is Griffin, and I'm going to call him Griffin. I expect to see Griffin just kind of interfere in the lanes a lot more. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll quite get to see Gladiator.
Oh, maybe we see an ARAM, an NA ARAM to finish things off. That'll be even funnier. Either way, though, I expect this match to be an absolute banger. I'm hoping these teams go out with an absolute blast because both these teams have worked so hard to make it here. Again, both paths that these teams have taken have made themselves qualify for that upper berth, as well as earning, I believe, 20 points moving into that proving grounds. To give you a little bit more information about that, each position that a team places here in the open qualifiers earns them a set amount of points that will total towards the end of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So every placement matters. That is why a 4-1 score is better than a 3-2. But I do believe we will be underway here. We will be getting onto the Rift for that final game. Nope, never mind. I can't talk today. I'm trying my hardest. I am trying my absolute hardest. It's failing me at every turn, RMC. I don't know what's going on.
To be fair to Orbital, what you guys didn't hear is that in our ears, just as Orbital was going to say that we're going to get into game, we got told the game is paused right now. There are some bugs. So unfortunately, not quite ready to hop in. But to elaborate on the point system, it's +5 points for every win in the OQs here. So you either get 15 or 20 points between these two teams, depending on who wins and who loses. Naturally, the more points you have, the easier it is to, well, you need more points to qualify effectively into the actual proving ground events that will come after, I believe, a second qualifier tournament here. And if you think it doesn't matter, teams got into UGP last year, the big tier 1 event, which was acted as the final qualifier into proving grounds, literally just by showing up and playing games. So it might come true again here. Every little bit of points matters. And hey, pride matters as well, Orbital. Right? These players want to show off. Imagine beating Zeus, right? Especially for a team like DAY2, who a lot of people ignored. Their 20th seed. They are the lowest seed to have qualified already for the main group stages, which will be starting tomorrow here. I think that's a massive accomplishment. It's already a huge, a big rebuttal to a lot of the critics out there.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I think that happens everywhere, right? Cinderella stories are always some of my favorites to watch, and to kind of keep track of players throughout the season, right? And sometimes even then, these situations where it's like, hey, these are supposed to be the teams to watch. And when that kind of team that sneaks in out of nowhere catches your eye, it creates such a diverse set of, I almost want to say, situations that can occur. All the brackets fall apart, everything out the window. Very, very fun to see. However, hopefully we are getting underway shortly. I know you're here for this final matchup here to see who secures a 4-1. Moving into the group stage, which I think I do want to say starts tomorrow.
Yeah, I do believe it's tomorrow. And as always, Unified will be providing more information as things go along here, whether it be via Twitter, Discord. Teams will be notified as well if they aren't already so. But we are finally into game. The pause is over. The bug's off. Do we get a level 1? I mean, if you're ever going to coin flip a level 1, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you see the battle lines drawn, the safety lineups have been set. And the closest I think we're going to get is Strumpus and Enigma waving hello to each other, depending on how Strumpus wants to go. But again, battle lines drawn. Even though we want a level 1, even though we want the greetings, I think this is still an okay way to start off this game.
Yeah, you asked me what would be the weirdest thing for us to see here. The craziest thing would have been DAY invading, because the level 1 is not very good. Wildcard, on the other hand, honestly, with the Galio, probably could have looked for a little bit of an invade. But as expected from this particular roster, take it nice and slow, nice and easy. Now, jungle pathing, going to be interesting here. Griffin starting top side, so they're already looking to try and pound that bot lane down. And we did say with the J4, with the Galio, Soraka, favorable laning into one of them. Great at stopping one of the disengages, but very difficult to stop multiple angles of attack. And they only need to find one onto the Soraka to kill her.
All right, well, that's a little tag opening. And Winw and Rhino go ahead and eat a very, very small chunk of damage. But very, very fun to see. Nonetheless, both bot laners, both sets of bot lane, deciding that they want to take a chance. But that's immediately an Ignite taunt into exhaust. So BMFX not enjoying that one too much, especially since Blossoms is going to try and trade back. Multiple potions being used. No heal right now from BMFX, and that's a flash out. If that was a flash from Winw, that possibly would have been first blood, but my gosh, the aggression in this bot lane already ramping into high gear.
I'm getting flashbacks to round 4 here, Orbital. That was kind of how BMFX and Blossom started losing that bot lane, taking those aggressive level 1, level 2 trades here. You can't afford that. If you just waited, Blossom hits level 2 and you start winning that war of attrition through healing. But at level 1, you don't win those trades. Take a chill pill. Wait a minute. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and especially running that boots and 4, which is well known in any of the scene. Well, that's an unfortunate mishap. Censored, Lauren stepping up a little bit too far and getting punished by this set, which bleeds well for DAY. But the 4 potion system for Jhin is usually really good if you can maintain that potion advantage, right? Right now, already dropped to 1. Not going to enjoy what possibly happens next.
Oh, but Griffin looking mid here, and Enigma.
Oh, great fear coming out of Enigma there. That is why you enjoy running that Vex, saving the flash.
Theoretically, that was always possible. I don't think I've actually seen that happen before, oddly enough, on stream. But now we know it's going to happen, and that's going to make the ganks really difficult. LeBlanc is slippery, but if you can deny those engages as well...
Well, What you can't dodge is a very, very nice chain, and
great
unfortunately
patience.
waited a little bit too long. Strumpus might go down here, is going to fall. Now it's going to be on Griffin. Going to throw and watch as unfortunately the mirror teammate is going to throw a couple chains back right into a wave. And nice dodge away. 1-for-1 trade.
One of the things you've got to remember with LeBlanc is that if she lands both ends of her chains, she actually does incredibly high damage. There's not a lot of champions who can duel with her like that. So Griffin, the moment you see Limo going for that there, you can't really win that trade. Flash forward.
Ooh, and that's going to be no flash on BMFX. This could be death.
Enough damage.
Great setup coming in, and a flash out from Winw. Means that it is going to be BMFX falling here. Follow up with another, though, as that is going to be the root. That should be another, as Blossoms is going to blossom into a death.
Pop Blossoms there, Orbital coming through, and really well played from Wildcard. This was the fear we had here. You can see in the lane, BMFX and Blossoms in that 2v2 are doing okay. Not necessarily great, but okay. Winw was getting the edge on that. But the moment the roams start to come through, multiple angles of engage, the zone of silence can only stop one person. And in that particular case, they had 3 different people jumping onto the Soraka, who's extremely squishy. And Wildcard can continue to do this over and over. LeBlanc's wave clear isn't very bad at all, so she can just push out that mid wave, roam down bot, and Dare needs to make sure they're tracking the mid laner, getting wards to try and track Griffin at all times as well.
I'm gonna have to try and do that already. 3 in, 100% kill participation for this jungler. Griffin kind of showing off. Why? He is one of the junglers to kind of watch here in the Proving Ground circuit. Very, very fun so far. Keep in mind, though, on the top side, Censored so far has not recalled. Reju beads on a Lorem, though, so the punches are going to fly. Censored hoping to get a bit more, but a nice dash out means that a Lorem should be able to hold up well on that top side. Censored still hoping to recall at some point.
And I want to highlight what Censored is doing here because it's absolutely massive. Usually Urgot wins this lane because of the range advantage, but Censored playing so patiently with that bush is constantly punishing Alorem. Alorem can't walk up, and now they've got Limo waiting as well here. Here we go, trigger pulled.
Yep, they're going to go ahead, jump in. No flash. Remember, the draw in is going to catch Alorem out. That should be a kill.
Ooh.
Can't get to the soul in time. Once again, Griffin is going to have 100% kill participation. 3-0-1 for the J4.
Making tracks here, but here's the problem with Griffin picking up all the kills. J4 doesn't scale. All this early gold is great, but he needs to start transferring it to other lanes once again.
Oh,
the attempt.
Yeah, and now we're starting to see why this Soraka might make it hard for Galio. Tried to go for the ramped up taunt and got silenced.
Yeah, and that's Ignite blown as well. Rhino's burning Ignite every time they're going in because that is how this lane goes. Either you kill or it's completely nullified by the healing from the Soraka here. Now, still no wards down there, so that bot lane pushing out like this might not work in their favor. They're actually trying to bait it. They're sending Limo down here, but Limo needs that level 6 ASAP.
Keep them hiding in the bush. This could be the bait of baits, but the top lane is one that we're also watching. Alorem not enjoying that. Full chakrams up, but a great stun and silence. Winw not enjoying that surprise in the bush, and Dare pull it off. Level 5 only is going to rot through the damage. It is. They are going to cut through the J4 shutdown into the Jin's pockets, and just like that, Dare tie up the kill score.
Yeah, I mean, if you're that far out, if you're looking that juicy there, you know where they're going to go. So they played that perfectly, and Dragon is up and available. There's no real contest to come through for them. And we'd watch Censored Mercy kind of losing that last little trait there. Alorem playing that well, and the flash is about to come up for Alorem.
Yeah, this is actually very, very dangerous. That's going to be the Fear Beyond Death being used, and a Showstopper thrown out is able to cancel out the time right now, and Lorem says, oh no, this is not what I wanted to happen. A half charge and a half baked punch, though, means Censored is not going to enjoy that. Meanwhile, Strumpus in the mid lane is going to get stunned up. That's going to be the ultimate landing, and that should easily be the kill. Enigma, with the help of Limo, will go ahead and shut down that LeBlanc.
Yeah, and that's your Vex LeBlanc counter matchup coming through right there. Differential denying Strumpus ways of escaping after that rough engage in top lane. We were watching for that kill. Great series of events, but neither of them fall. And that actually favors Set because Censored Mercy will heal up, regen faster than Alorem will. Alorem has to go back to base, and Censored Mercy, doing an amazing job keeping a hit on this matchup.
And to keep in mind as well, this was the counter matchup that Alorum chose, right? This was a, I want to say an R2 pick, completely blind, went for it, and is holding up well, dancing within the brushes. So very, very well done. And we'll have to wait and see. Alorum still mid to late game might be able to shred through. The range might start getting to him, but what we do see is Griffin going for this Herald. Rhino here to help out, but it looks like the damage scaling is going to be a little bit more in favor of this Dare squad. They're going to go ahead, pinch in. Rhino is going to take a couple punches, and unfortunately that is going to chase him out. However, that's going to be censored, looking for a little bit more. Strumpus does not get feared away. And now with Blossom here, it's a full 4-on-4. Make it 5, though. BMFX is running straight through, should be seen. And I think this is the call that Wildcard wants to say, hey, maybe we can't fight it.
Yeah, at the moment Censored Mercy bought them time and Blossoms got there, even if it's a 4v4, Dare are winning right there. Strumpus.
Yeah, unfortunately, Strumpus doesn't have any flash, and that's going to be the Cataclysm coming in. In goes the Galio, and no one can be stopped. Curtain Call goes down, but not going to get much more. And unfortunately, with the first bullet shot, no refund to BMFX.
Herald for a single kill here. And honestly, if that was the trade, Dare would be ahead. But the problem is they rotated BMFX up. So if you had just sent Blossoms, Dare already won that. They can out-sustain your trades. They have Wish as well. They also have the better poke in this situation with Differential and Blossoms. So BMFX moving up lost waves, and Winw got solo time to catch back up. That's not what you want to see. You want to keep that Aphelios down as long as possible. And now, I'd actually say Wildcard kind of won that last little exchange that we saw there, unless Dare can secure themselves a Dragon or a turret with that Herald.
Wildcard are really going to show that they did win this one, as this is going to be a 3-man collapse immediately into the flash, and the AoE is good enough. This time, there is no surprise waiting in the bush, but the return fire is good. No curtain call, though. Remember, there is no cooldown for BMFX. It will be a single kill. However, this is a little bit dangerous. Griffin is in range, but decides against it. So he'll take the 1 kill and be very happy about it.
Yeah, Differential actually taking a bunch of damage, losing about 40% of their health. 2 Dragon just trying to walk in there, the Dragon that Nemo started up. So now they really have to get that Dragon. If not, Enigma's sacrifice was kind of in vain there. And as I say that, of course, Strumpus leaves the lane. And you know what? Never mind. Enigma's fine.
All right. Everything I just said, just scrap it, you know? Rider's block out the window. No one really cares. Dragon, that is going to be the Hex Tech falling into the pockets of Dare. I want to say for the first time getting a global Dragon. I want to say the Dragon first. I think every other game they have lost Dragon first. Is that correct?
If memory serves me right, yes. So that's great to see coming through from Limo. And I guess all it took was banning Hecarim and making sure he's not on it. That and also just Dragon not being contested over to this point, Herald being the bigger thing. But overall, I want to go back to the top lane a little bit here, because the last we saw Censored Mercy was going toe-to-toe with Alorum. That started to change. Alorum's starting to win up this matchup here, and that might become a problem.
Yeah, definitely might. However, in the mid lane, what's really becoming a problem is Strumpus now getting the better of these trades. Again, the fear can be timed. That is something to kind of watch for, but a nice body block on the bot side means Rhino, without flash and any escapes, now going to be run down. Will the kill be gifted over? Nope. Limo will go ahead and take that one home.
Yeah, and you can't answer the same way. Topside, Griffin, a bit worried about this dive here. Set hard to dives. Winw.
No, Limo isn't going to do it, is he? That's a flash out, an immediate flash of safety. Now Censored is going to get dove under tower. He gets a nice slam, showstopper, and a huge heal and shield. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but Fear Beyond the grave should be able to hold it steady. That will be the kill on the top side. 0-2 for Censored. But once again, Dare hoping to get a first tower.
That one's a little bit on Enigma there for not calling the move or not even TPing up to stop the dive, because Set in a 1v2 dive under turret is actually very, very difficult. You saw the shielding, you saw almost turn, but now Differential getting caught.
Yeah, that's going to be the catch there. Very, very quick pickup, as it is going to be this this poor Enigma taken down once again.
Yeah, and a lot of map rotations coming through, but Dare did manage to get first turret on the bot side as well. BMFX and Blossoms now free to rotate out of lane there. And I think because they're taking the turret, that was why they lost vision on Pocket Rhino for a little bit, allowing Rhino to roam up, gank the mid lane. I don't expect to see that happening too much more now that they are out of laning phase. And there, traditionally, you take down the bot lane turret, you move your bot lane to the mid lane, start pressuring that up. Wildcard have to decide, what do you want to do? Because they don't have a great answer against the Soraka when she's protected. And in a shorter lane like that, it becomes harder to gank her. If there's more than just an AD carry there, it's even tougher because there's extra bodies, there's extra health to try and keep Blossoms alive, and Blossoms will keep everybody else alive in exchange.
It's a nice give and take here. Strumpus in the mid lane, though. Dodging out a Limo, and that, I think, will happen over and over again. Aggressive warding, though, coming out from the side of Wildcard. That is going to be 2 pink wards cleared out. I think that's 150 gold immediately taken off the map.
And they continue clearing this out. They actually had to rotate BMFX and Blossoms back down to that bot side because of the pressure they're putting on. But top, Alorum is definitely a problem.
Yeah, this is...
oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was just straight up shredding. Alorum's just like, nah, this ain't gonna fly, sorry.
And that's huge because for Wildcard right now, Griffin got all the early kills, and Griffin actually hasn't been able to rotate that into some of the other lanes. It's just assists pretty much in all the other lanes. Alorum is starting to generate his own lead. This is without ganks here. And who's going to answer this? Differential, the Vex is not a good matchup into the Urgot. Urgot doesn't have a ton of jumps, and his jumps fairly short range. Censored Mercy already struggling here, and Alorum going to be able to take his first turret. This one didn't require any assists, didn't require Herald as well.
On top of that, 30 CS up, feeling really good here as we are moving away from that early game. Rhino has been sitting in the mid lane. Keep an eye on Winw, making sure that this Aphelios is able to farm up properly. As we take stock, Dragon will be up in about 45 seconds. That will be a Mountain Dragon. I'll have to wait and see what the soul will be. As Herald, actually, my eyes were somewhere else. It is going to be the side of the Herald, second one of the game potentially taken.
Yeah, and right now, neither team is super comfortable going for that Herald just yet. Griffin can't solo it, and they weren't fully aware of where differential was, which is the big problem. Vex can engage from a pretty long range away here, so both teams have backed off. It is still vision advantage to Wildcard topside, and Dare didn't actually manage to fully take control of the bot side vision, so advantage to Wildcard at least in terms of controlling the river.
Battle still going, but Strumpus says, hey, kills are a little bit more important. Almost gets the snap on Limo, and that would have been big to go ahead and chunk out the enemy jungler, but it was only going to be a quarter down. Is going to lock up that dragon. And now it's actually on the other side as Griffin is actually drawn in. Big damage goes through, and the showstopper finishes it off straight into the back line. No, Wildcard went for it, but they are punished in return. Strumpus now going to get caught with the root. I think that was actually a little bit of the clone. Strumpus is going to fire right back. No, that was actually the clone. Okay, so I even got taunted up. Strumpus definitely showing off a little bit of the LeBlanc tech still, though. Major kills going over the way of Dare, as they'll go ahead and secure their second dragon.
And more importantly, the moment they killed Griffin, that was victory condition for them, at least for this particular skirmish there. They get a free dragon, and Rhino has to be careful that he doesn't stick around too long and get punished here. Their second dragon, not a big deal. Once again, Cloud Soul on the map, not exactly what we wanted to see, but it is what it is. And Herald kind of left by the wayside here. Neither team really contesting for it. Considering that Dare just won that skirmish, I wouldn't be surprised if they go back there once the ults are back up.
Yeah, why not? Rinse and repeat, right? That is easily something that they could do. Campus, of course, still trying to duel out anyone. Does have that Ludens sitting in the pocket. Very, very strong right now. 148 CS, but the problem is if you can't finish off the kills, it's not worth too much. 3-man setup here on the bot side as Griffin says hello. Ward is taken out, and Censored says goodbye.
Yep, and that's going to net the side of Wildcard a turret on this bot side, and Dare, no answer here. They weren't in position. Top lane was shoved in for them, and BMFX Blossom's going to get matched by Winw, so great play by the side of Wildcards. Actually, they went for the Herald that we were talking about, and Alorum's trying to hold them off while we see Strumpus poke a little bit at Censored Mercy.
As we get over there, just as you said, that Herald is now being fought over down to about 3k. No real reason to fight for it, I think, for Wildcard. Will be handed over. One more auto attack. Oh, looked like Winw was going to go for it, but now it's actually Limo stuck in the pit. Curtain call is open, though, as the teleport came in, and it looks like they might have caught the Galio. Silence, you can't flash out of that. And that'll be the kills. So Herald and a kill might open up a mid lane push.
Yeah, especially since Rhino being down means there's no real tank to protect everybody here. I mean, Griffin does have the Gore Drinker, so he's pseudo-tanky. But if he gets caught and CC down, we've seen him pop the last time. They can do it again. First charge coming in. Second charge likely to go off as well.
Yep. Unfortunately, it will be a little bit rough. But that's the stun! Oh, Strumpus went for it, but Enigma was ready and followed through with BMFX. Amazing cleanup as there might be doing it. They're getting so many. Oh, the stopwatch is used, but it's only going to delay the inevitable. What are you doing? Wildcard feeling a little bit helpless. That's going to be the wish being used by this Soraka, keeping everyone so healthy. This push is never ending. 19.5 minutes, and it looks like they are almost trying to chase for the basement. Winw, though, coming out with the chakrams, laying down the damages. Everyone bleeding low on the HP bars. Dare take 2 towers and a couple kills, and my gosh, that almost went disastrous for Wildcard.
Why? Why did you pick that engage? The moment Strumpus gets caught, Wildcard just can... The only thing they can do is turtle. Rhino wasn't up, wasn't able to contribute. Wildcard, well, they might stack the deck, but they decided to flip coins instead, and they lost in the coin flip.
I was so... I didn't know if it was a mistake or if someone had drawn it out, but they kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and I was surprised that no more kills came through. That was the craziest thing for me. Winw was so low. And again, I believe it was a Severum gun that was out that actually saved him with the Chakra. Phenomenal gun combination, by the way. Very nicely timed. But barely staying alive. That, honestly, I feel could have possibly been an inhibitor tower at that point as well.
Yeah, and it was literally just Winw's lifesteal that stopped the engage for them. Censored Mercy now taking a lot of damage, but it's buying time, and Blossoms is almost there.
Oh, they're going to try and chase. Great Showstopper comes in. Oh, gets the shield up in time. Oh, the save has happened. Oh, it's happening. Oh, no, Strumpus. Strumpus is dead. That is going to be Griffin. Chase out of town. Dare say, get out of our lane. But the ADC battle is a little bit rough on the far side. That's going to be BMFX. Going to go ahead and get under tower to safety. Rhino, though, going to get chased down by 4. Alorum only watching in terror as his teammates fall 1 by 1. Curtain call used already as Winw had to burn the heal as well. But guess what? No one's there. No one can fight it. That is going to be Blossom, though, pulled beyond death. But Baron, chunked down to 9k, should go the way of Dare.
Blossom died, doesn't even matter. Blossom MVP running in. We joke about Soraka being an ambulance, but it really was TP coming in, though, right here. Winw?
Oh, great! Enigma gets the spear on 3, and Winw has to leave. That's a W! That's going to be the Heartbreaker to kill! The chain kills are real! Dare are doing it. They say we took down the 17th seed. We'll do it with the 3rd. They changed so many out of nowhere. The kill threshold has become oh so bloody. 17 to 11 at 22 minutes, and they're right back on Baron.
Yeah, usually, you know, you trade your life and you say, we got them off Baron Worth, but this time Wildcard trade their lives and didn't get them off Baron. Dragons up as well here. The entire rift is Dare's to do with as they wish here. Wildcard's trying to race down to that dragon, but it'll be there first. And if you go there, I think Dare just push right into your base.
Yeah, and what do you know? It's a Cloud Soul, right? It's not even one that'll give you actual combat stats. It feels bad because you don't get to utilize that cloud if you do take it. And instead, they can't even do that, right? They drop a couple wards, they go ahead and walk away, and they're like, okay, well, dang, now we got to wait and see if we can try and get a steal. This is a phenomenal placement so far from Dare. They are pulling the trigger where they so decide, and it's showing, right? Limo, we were questioning, right? Without the Hecarim, was he going to have the same type of influence? 7-1-7. The man is going absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and it's not just the Viego, it's not just Limo either. When we are talking about these drops here, Orbital, I said that the Soraka is risky in lane, but now that she's out of lane and with the rest of the team, you're starting to see the value of this scaling support pick. it takes so much to kill her. If you're focusing here, you're not focusing other people. If you're focusing other people, Blossom's just healing them up anyway. So Wildcard, they're caught between a rock and a hard place right now, and Strumpus has decided, you know what, I don't even want to fight this, was just trying to split push. You can't do that against a burned up team.
No, and he stayed. Wait, what? He stayed. He is deciding to stay right now because it looked like Dare were going to back off, and they do. But this is going to be a little bit tricky. If Wildcard decide to step out a little bit too far, this could actually be very, very dangerous. They're going to draw him in. Alorm took the bait, and that might be the kill. They get that one. They're going to get the soul, and now they're going to chase in. Strumpus has to get back right now. Doesn't reach. That is not going to be Enigma getting the chain CC off, but they're going to fire through. That's, BMFX tried a weird combination right there. That's going to be the Moonlight Vigil going down. Lands on quite a few members, but not too much damage. Cataclysm right in the back is going to lock up 2, and now they're going to try and take the chance. 3-man knockup. What more can they do? And it looks like the Wish is going to come out. They all survive. Strumpus is dead. He recalled to his own death, and now it is a 5v3 for their base's life. Wildcard trying to hang on by any thread of imagination. First, Nexus Tower's down. Dare hoping to take another single seeder down. Censored running off on the side. Griffin hoping to try, but that's a showstopper taking him out. What more can they get? Minui is exhausted. Minui is low. Minui is almost dead. Galio gonna come in. They get the kill. Griffin now and Alorm, the last two standing alive. Can they get no Heartbreaker out? They are gonna get the Fear Beyond Death though, and this might be the save. No! It's over. It doesn't matter how flashy it is. 24-45 is the score as Dare complete a miracle run at the end of the Swiss bracket and take down the 3rd seed in Wildcard.
Dare Gaming Orbital. Here we go. Wildcard Gaming, 3rd seed, last split, 3-time champion. They did the 3-peat, 3-time crown winner, triple crown winner. Doesn't matter. Dare 20th seed. Not anymore. They're going to have to revise their power rankings. Granted, these are best of ones, but nevertheless, Dare is showing their stuff. We said this game was going to be a lot about the mechanics, and my goodness, did some of these players deliver. Enigma on the Vex, incredibly clean, 7-3 and 8. Limo, like you pointed out, was 7-1 and 7 at one point, ended the game 8-2 and 9. And the bot lane, their scores weren't as fancy, 4-1 and 10 for BMFX. It's not that Jinx carry. Blossoms 1-4 and 12. Actually, that's a pretty good support score. But I'm very impressed with how they played the laning phase this time. They did not crumble, did not fall apart. We're firing back on all cylinders. And Dare Gaming, not only have they punched their tickets, but they've also secured themselves 20 points and probably a better seeding in their group stages.
That was ridiculous. All I can say, right? There was, I want to say only 2 pushes that actually happened. Number 1 came with the second Rift Herald. That one knocked down the first mid tower, and then the second, and then a brief fight colluded, right? Then the Baron was taken. It was out to one more push. That was it. That was all it took. And for a team that struggled in the early to mid games in games 1 and 2 of the day to show that kind of turnaround and show that kind of reaction and that conviction to try to end the game at that point, I think deserves so much credit for how Dare have finalized their placement.
Yeah. And on the other hand, Wildcard Gaming, I honestly don't know if that was the best they had in the tank, or whether, you know, they kind of phoned it in a little bit because they already qualified for group stages. Because Alorm did great topside, like he always does, but in team fights, not so much impact. Strumpus, this was an uncharacteristic showing from him as well. I'm used to seeing Strumpus, you know, play incredibly well, get really crafty with how he engages. He kind of walked into the Vex a couple of times here, not what we're used to seeing. And Radw on the Galio tried his damnedest to try and make things happen. Quite a few great engages with Griffin, but they were just too far behind at that point. So Wildcard Gaming, you know, yeah, they lost here. I ain't counting them out. I do still think this is a top 8 team, and they still deserve their seeding. But at least for now, at least for tonight, Orbital, Dare Gaming have taken down the 3rd seeds.
Oh, man. 2 single-seeded teams coming in and taking down 20th seed who? That's going to be the hashtag. Send it all the way wherever you want to go. Because Dare have not only secured their place in the closed qualifiers, they are now at the top of the bracket. They will be, I believe, up at the same level, at least in seeding, as Golden Guardians Academy, who I believe was playing for first place. They were one of the 4-0 teams. So it's crazy to think about. Congratulations, right? Or are they 5-0 now? I don't know.
No. GGA is 4-1. 100
4-1.
Thieves Knicks won. And what I heard was an amazing barn burner of an ending. But I'm just laughing because the only team that Dare lost to here in the open qualifiers was Golden Guardians Academy, who they are now tying in terms of score.
The storylines write themselves, right? And that is the best part of it all.
And it's scripted?
Yeah, it's scripted. It's there because now we get to watch them play in the closed qualifiers. The group stages will start tomorrow, which will be fantastic to watch over the next, I believe, 5 days of the group stage. So make sure tune in there to watch their take on these guys once again in that run. Again, it was a valiant attempt from Wildcard Gaming. They have made it in as well, so we'll see if maybe they get seeded into the same group. However, that'll be it for us here on the day.
Wait,
are we doing an
hold
interview?
Up 1 second.
I heard something else. We are doing an interview. Okay, this is going to be so much fun because I'm very, very excited. Brief intermission, and then we will go to the interview. So actually, don't go anywhere. I almost closed it out. I feel so bad. I've done that at least 3 times now. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with an interview with one or maybe all of the Dare members who have made it into the bracket. Don't go anywhere.